I thought we
All
were.
right. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
No,
sorry, no.
weird. All right. So we're looking at Oscar nominees
Yeah.
here, looking at the best pictures.
Yeah,
You-
we're starting to discuss the Oscars is tonight, and the date is Saturday 9th of 2020, almost to 2019.
Yep.
It'll be
February
Sunday,
9th.
the 9th of February, 2020. And normally I don't give a fuck about the Oscars, but I was just telling Ross.
We've actually seen a lot of the movies from the
For the
best
first
picture category.
for the first time in
Yeah.
a long time, we've picked movies out of the bunch that are like, oh, I really want to go see that are now being acknowledged by quote unquote the Academy because it's hip and cool to like actually make good movies again, instead of what do you want to call it, like the woke, the woke.
Yeah,
The woke mode. I'm not trying to take
woke bait.
I'm not trying to take a terrible whole lot of shots, but like the last couple of Oscars were like, well, they're pretty much being acknowledged because it's a diverse cast. Like
Yeah.
it was not fucking because of quality of the writing or quality of the picture itself. It just seemed like, well, it's black. He's a black guy. He's leading in the movie. Let's put it in, which I don't have a problem with black.
And we've got a hashtag running right now of, Oscar so white, so we've got to fight that. And so
Yeah, so now we're in a constant battle of this woke existence.
Because everybody watches the Oscars on Twitter.
Yeah, nobody. Fuck, I even have taken to Twitter, and I said I wasn't going to years ago, and I want to watch this fucking freak show, this train wreck.
Oh yeah.
And you get grandstand seats from Twitter, and it's beautiful, it's glorious. Even if you don't fucking pick anybody to follow directly, you get washed into the bucket. It will come and find you, and you will find out about it. So I just have to kind of fucking hang out on Twitter. And like I can hear from the Pope and porn stars in the same
same
in
feed.
the fucking same swipe, like one or two couple swipes, and I can hear from everything on the same shot. But it's probably the most direct way to get news for anything.
Yeah.
It's probably the only way. So I gave in, and I was like, I'm gonna get involved on Twitter, and it's just so I can like voyeuristically watch events.
Yeah, just hover and just.
So unfortunately, like I heard about Kobe the second it happened.
That's
like
right.
the second they posted it.
Yeah.
And I was on Twitter doing something. I was looking at memes or something. I was like, I'm looking for some tasty ones to post or something. And like right away, TMZ is like, Kobe's dead.
Kobe's dead.
And they slapped me in the face with it. And I'm like, what? And so like I'm all confused. And I even called my mom because my mom watches basketball with me.
Yeah.
We both love basketball. I was like, Mom, I think Kobe's dead. And I was like, all confused. And it's like normally
Is this real?
it shouldn't. Yeah, I was like, because I was like somebody else, because it was literally the first person. I felt like the first person that I knew about.
Oh
hear
yeah,
about.
you were the first person I heard about it from.
Yeah, so I had to fucking ask people, and I was like, "Am I?" Because I thought it was like the Twilight Zone, where it's like I was hoping it wasn't like a Dead Zone thing.
Yeah.
The Dead Zone is what I'm thinking, where he sees events before it happens, and I'm just like, what if Kobe's still alive and I can fucking save him? And like I have to save him right now. And so I went through this whole like events, and my mom's like, no, because everybody asked was like, no, I haven't heard anything. And then all of a sudden, an hour later, the feeds blow up, and I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. I don't have fucking the powers of Christopher Walken. I'm not going to exist in this weird paranormal detective universe. I had hopes though. I was like, I just stop working and be a paranormal detective.
Yeah.
I'll just be Yu Hockey show for the rest of my life and kind of hang out. I'd be a spirit detective, man. But it's like you were saying before, like Hollywood like lives on Twitter and doesn't exist anywhere else.
Nope.
And like it's they won't even acknowledge their.
Well, it's almost how they just like keep each other in line. It's
like a fucking social schoolyard toll system.
It is.
Where they can like check everybody with a bullying system if somebody steps out of line or does something out of the status quo. I've been watching too because Rogan has been really fucking. I don't want to say shilling, but he's been shilling pretty hard for a certain side lately.
Yeah.
Because he had Bernie on, and he's like, I'm not voting for Bernie, but I'll fucking suck Bernie's dick. But he'll fucking go off about Bernie for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm like. If you're not, why? First off, why am I involved with who you're voting with? Like, why does it have to be a public of fucking opinion? Out of the millions of people who listen to your show, I was like, you don't think you have a fucking sway over like the more simple folk that are listening to your show who are going to be like, well, yeah, maybe we should vote for Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. But she's like, she's a great
Maybe I'm
candidate.
in the Yang Gang. Maybe
I could be in the Yang Gang and I not even know it until he fucking told me because I can't think for myself. It's weird because I like Tulsi Gabbard and all that stuff. They're great. I listen to their interviews. It's nice to listen to.
They're fantastic in interviews. Yeah.
Have you listened to like his Bernie Sanders one and stuff? Because he actually gave him like an hour and a half to sit there and do his spiel.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything beyond Bernie Sanders more than a fucking 15-minute argument.
Right.
It always turns into a fucking argument. So it was nice to be able to actually listen to a long form discussion with these people who, which Bernie has become a fucking meme. And nobody really knows like what his stances are beyond like these jokes now. Yeah. Besides the people that are doing the research. I was contacted today. Somebody texted me asking me if I would vote for Bernie. And I was like, who the fuck is asking? Who the fuck are you? And they're like, oh, I found your information through voter registry and Democratic Party. And I was like, fuck. I was like, well, I'm probably not going to vote. I was like, so get the fuck away from me. Stop texting me. Because I don't want to get my own personal views into this. Because it's always in poor taste to discuss politics anyway, but I can smell the money in the air is my point. Especially because we're coming up on that political season. And I would argue that there's a lot of buyouts and money floating around for certain celebrities and certain people to
absolutely
to toot certain horns.
Well, what's your opinion overall of awards ceremonies and things?
It used to have meaning.
Yeah.
To me, it used to have meaning, but now with the age of the internet, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
With the access that we have to everything and all content at any time, anywhere in the world, awards are meaningless.
Pretty much.
To me,
that's kind of.
It's like even when even if they win in the Oscars, which I loved when Shape of Water won because that film meant a lot to me because I liked the film a lot.
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, it's so fucking surgical and precise. And I was like, this is what a fucking AAA high-end film should look like. Everything was so razor line cut and set together on every single layer that was necessary for the film. I was like, fuck, they nailed it. They nailed this movie. And this is before I even knew it was up for the Oscar. And I was like, this is like my favorite movie of the year when it came out. And I watched it several times. I rented it and watched it like twice because I was like, there's so many aspects to the film I wanted to go through and read. Like the cinematography was really what captured me because he themed emotions with color. And I was like, I caught on to it a little bit, but it's there to where you don't even notice it until you look for it. And it was beautifully fucking put together and just painted. And it's like everything is color themed throughout. And the bad guy stuff is like very straightforward, no color theming. But with your main characters, there's a color theme going on in the background for certain stuff. And it's like I followed these choices, and I was like, it's those little things that they make for people that love film. Yeah. And he put those in there because it was something
to go back to and really you soak yourself in.
Like we watched 1917. I could watch that movie multiple times because there's so much going on many levels. And like the whole time I was watching it, when I didn't get caught up in the film itself, I was like amazed at how smooth and like I could see your transitions for the camera where they're transitioning, and I'm like, oh, they did a really good job transitioning there. And I was like watching that shit. Yeah. Which nobody else in the fucking theater cared. No. You know what I mean? It's just for me to watch. And I'm like, the movie was beautiful all the way around, but I loved, how did they do this? Right. Like, those little choices that they made in the boardroom, and Shape of Water had more, was put together like a Lex Luthor fucking plan to kill Superman, dude. It was just like super tight. Yeah. Super tight. And it was one of those ones that I definitely deserved it. But they didn't have anything else to stand on that year. The Shape of Water was definitely going to blow it out of the water. In my opinion, there wasn't a whole lot.
It was a pretty slow year.
It was a slow year for movies. Especially for something as risky and fucking like, what it was like an old-timey tale, but the movie that they took a chance when he made that movie, Del Toro took a chance when he made that shit. It was a really risky script and everything else. But this year, we have a fucking whole buffet of shit to choose from. Of a really, really, really high quality films. And it's a one-off because I usually don't get to see, like, I'll pick a lot of weird movies to go watch. Like, I like watching some fluke movies like Predator. Yeah. and I watch the occasional scary movie if I like the concept or something like that. But we watched a lot of fucking really high end films.
Yeah, a lot of meaty stuff this year.
Yeah, including like 1917, Ford versus Ferrari, Joker, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Did you ever see Jojo Rabbit?
No, I haven't. It's but I love the director.
Yeah, Taika Waititi's great.
I'm a big fan of the director. It's definitely on my list of stuff to watch. I love the hard drama stuff because we have like Little Women on here. The Irishman is supposed to be pretty good. Parasite's the one that piqued my interest the most because it was like aces across the board.
Yeah.
Even from Rotten Tomatoes, and even people that like are watching the movie that are not critics were like, "Yeah, it's really good." And I heard nothing about it, and I love
yeah,
I love that fucking
where was
mystery.
the promotion for this and everything? Yeah,
that's really what the entry came from. I was like, it's fucking that good, and it came out of nowhere. It materialized, and they're like, it's running for the Oscar, and I'm like, where the fuck did it come from? And it's like a South Korean production or something like that, and I've watched a bunch of their monster movies lately, and they're really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
They grasp the concept of like how film and theatrics work, and I'm like a big fan of their stuff. It's up and coming because they smoke China.
Yeah,
in my opinion, which China's like, well, we need to just like copy the schmaltz of Hollywood and we just need to make Avengers every time. It's just like, we need to make fucking Avengers every time. Russia does the same thing where they have their own, like, we have to go fucking hard as
let's
fuck.
go for the hardcore commercial
and
shit.
It's like the Japanese get it, the Koreans get it. There's a few, like the Italians have a concept of film that is unique in its own right too. And there's a small pulse over here in America, which we experienced a lot of this year.
Mm-hmm.
This past year, excuse me. It's 2020. But like films like Ford versus Ferrari, I didn't think that was like going to be such a grandstand emotional ride. And not in the motion in a sense where it's like a gripping drama. And like I cared about the characters and stuff, but I felt like I was in the fucking race. I felt like I was in the race car.
Right, yeah.
And it was so masterfully put together where I was so invested when we were watching it that I was like, fuck, those racing scenes. And I don't even, I couldn't tell you how long they last because it just felt like a blur, like mushed together, even that endurance race. Like I felt like I was part of the race or on the track team. And it was shit like that where they actually cared about the essence of the thing that they were making.
Yeah.
Where they got like, we're going to make a fucking race car movie for Le Mans and we're going to do stack it as historically and tightly tuned as we can, which there were no compromises on the accuracy of most of that stuff for the film. There's a few things I think that were not correct, but when I went back to look them up, I was like, well, it was fucking...
Well, shit, that's how it went down.
That's exactly how it went down. And I was like, fuck, like they just...
Like, it is such a made for Hollywood story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's a Brando film.
Yeah.
It's like a love story for Brando. Because it's like, it's something him in his youth would definitely be like all your younger...
Oh yeah,
Hollywood heartthrobs of the 60s to 70s. That's the movie, dude. That's the movie of the year. Well, those were a dime a dozen back then too.
They were.
You had like some badass race films.
Oh, you had badass race films. I was even surprised because shortly after I saw this, it was like Disney Plus was coming out, and my little brother turned on the old Herbie the Love Bug movies.
Oh, I need to go put those on my list.
The first one is a pretty legit racing movie.
Right.
And I was looking at it and I was like, holy shit, like this whole, because, you know, mid to late 60s and early 70s was the golden era probably of automobile racing.
Right. I would say, what would you say that film came out like 65? Because what year is that?
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, it was
because the Herbie's like a 63.
It's mid to late 60s. Yeah.
Right. I would say it's like a 65 to 63 Volkswagen.
And they really just made it because they were catching on to that kind of golden era, like Hollywood, just overall, like you said, they were dime a dozen.
Right.
And so many of them are great. And so here we have Ford versus Ferrari kind of recapturing that.
And you've commented on this a lot before, where Hollywood is very much in love with themselves.
Oh yeah,
they want to stroke their fucking ego by remaking and recapturing parts of, which is a lot of what this year was.
There's a lot of what this year was. That's what a lot of like. That's why I was like, this is like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like even though Tarantino like he's got his Oscar.
Yeah,
like this was his kind of like.
I think he just wanted to go hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Like he just wanted to go and take it straight to the fucking line like he used to because he was so precise with this film.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, it was fun. It wasn't precise like Shape of Water precise or 1917. We're surgically going to insert you into this moment. He created a fucking feel, man, which Tarantino does.
You know, whole environment, yeah.
He does in his movies, and he creates a fucking mode. He's great at moments.
Yeah.
He's my favorite moment director. Not overall precise. That's not what he's worried about.
No.
He's worried about, because that's not his character. When you've seen him in interviews, he doesn't give a fuck about the fucking precision of this
of
film.
how every little thing fits together.
Let's make it fun and make a fucking cool movie to watch. That's all he wants.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like like Reservoir Dogs is just this fucking gritty character fucking mystery shootout with a gory. It's a fucking one of my favorite movies because it's
interesting characters, letting actors just ham up as much as possible.
That's the best, the fucking very best.
Yeah.
In my opinion, is my favorite stuff is turning loose a fucking top tier character actor. And just letting him fucking go wild. Because DiCaprio fucking slayed me, dude.
Oh, yeah.
He fucking knocked me over. And I don't get bowled over by... I'm not like, I'm going to fucking toot his horn because he's Leonardo DiCaprio. Because there's a lot of years where people were like, he's just the heartthrob. And now he stopped being... He's the schlubby actor guy now.
Well, and that was the thing was I really didn't like him during his heartthrob phase. I was not interested at all. The whole Titanic phase and everything.
You know, the thing is like Brad Pitt went through that same thing.
Yeah.
Because I watched Meet Joe Black 2 nights ago. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
If you haven't watched it, it's an interesting... I wouldn't say it's a good film. It was good for the time. It didn't age well.
No.
But it's an interesting commentary on how they used their actors back in the time for that kind of production.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt was used just as a show pony through the whole film, which we didn't know at the time that he could fucking act his dick off.
Oh yeah.
Like he's a great actor.
Well, like for me, that era of Brad Pitt, my favorite would have to be 12 Monkeys.
Wow, you give him 12 Monkeys? I'd give him Legends of the Fall.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because it's an ensemble cast. Though.
Yeah.
It's not just him that made it good, but he has that savage fucking anger moments. Like my favorite scenes where he goes behind enemy lines and scalps all the Germans, and they're like, "You gotta get the fuck out of here. You can't fucking scalp people in war. This is World War I. You can't fucking scalp people." And he's like, "Fine." So they let him keep his scalps because they're like, "Just fucking go. Just get the fuck out." And I love that movie. And it's like not very many 3-hour runs will keep me going, and he's pretty good in that film.
Yeah.
I think he's used better outside of that romantic fucking schmaltz.
No,
they always put him.
He does crazy so good.
He does. Have you seen California with a K?
Mm-mm.
He plays the serial killer.
Okay.
He ends up taking these two people. He takes David Duchovny hostage in the film, and David Duchovny is documenting a serial killer's life. Like he's going to different places serial killers have been.
Okay, yeah.
And he ends up picking up Brad Pitt, who plays this fucking hodunk white trash as fuck.
Nice.
Like hardly can understand him. Tobacco chewing motherfucker, bro. Alcoholic.
Yeah.
Crazy as fuck. It's who the fuck is the daughter? The daughter, his girlfriend is she was in a lot of films in the 90s. She was in Cape Fear and a bunch of other stuff. I cannot remember her name. You would know her if you saw her right away.
Yeah.
She plays crazy really well too.
Okay.
She was in Natural Born Killers. She was the co-star in Natural Born Killers.
Okay.
I can't remember her name. You know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about.
She was in that also, and she played like the innocent, abused girlfriend for Brad. And so it's not a good movie in most regards, but it's fun to watch. They let Brad Pitt do whatever the fuck he wanted.
Right.
And so he's like, I'm going to fucking get crazy and fucking do something wild. Like Nick Cage used to be good back in the day when they would let him do crazy shit.
Yeah.
Before they were like, just fucking say the line and fucking pretend to be John Travolta. And he'll be like, fascinating. Yes. Yes, of course.
Well, that was, like all of this kind of fits into Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's kind of the commentary that I'm getting towards. Is that I did tangent off, but
yeah, bringing it back around.
But in that sense, they used both DiCaprio and Brad Pitt were both used as that show pony for Hollywood for a long time.
Yeah,
and they were casted as like, I think they were casted on purpose because of that that background. Because Tarantino has like a fucking distaste and distrust for Hollywood in a romantic way, where he's like, I'm still fucking here.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I'm gonna keep making movies, but he's like, I fucking hate you all. And this is like that was probably my favorite movie overall of the year was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because it's the background stuff with Tarantino's interest with like older Hollywood before it fucking fell in on itself and became this, what would you call it? This fucking, the thing.
Just kind of, it
a
kind of just like
machine.
lost it became just a machine. It lost its identity.
It definitely became, well, its politics got so heavily involved in Hollywood that they fucking became a puppet for money and the grandstanding of it. It wasn't about art anymore.
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't about art or even just about like just doing a job. Because that was the big thing with that era. That
serialized TV shows. Everybody was working like fucking crazy.
They're just working a job.
Right.
It's like, oh, I got famous, but I'm a jobber. I'm showing up every day.
You're daily showing up to film your episode for the week or whatever.
Yeah.
Every 7, you're off weekends. You're there. You punch in, punch out, and that's how all of that was, man. But that's
DiCaprio's whole arc and stuff. Is he's this jobber and he was hoping for like big success.
Spoilers alert! By the way, let's give a spoiler.
It's not even like
It's been out for a while.
It's been out for a while, and this is all stuff from like the middle of the movie.
You'd be surprised how quickly these things pass by some people, and they'll be like, "Well, I was fucking planning to see that," and it's fucking 16 years down the road, and they still haven't watched it. But they'll be angry at you regardless.
Yeah.
But you're right.
He's feeling like he got passed over. He doesn't probably have the talent. He has the talent to, work a day, this kind of stuff.
He's definitely fucking washed out.
But he's, partway through, he's put on this set where he thinks he's just going to be doing another job, where he's just going to play another bad guy on the show. And the director comes in and just immediately challenges him. Is immediately just like, I don't want you to do your normal thing. I don't want you to even be J.K. Hill or whatever you've been before. I want you to act.
Because he's like the mustache. He's like, what? I can't fucking see
mustache, a wig.
If I'm wearing all this, you won't know who I am. He's like, that's
what I fucking want.
I want you to act. You can do it. And he's like, starts to sweat. And he's like, but I'm fucking all fucked up. I don't know.
He's stuck on set. He wasn't ready for this at all. He's like, I know my lines. I came up knowing my lines.
That's my favorite scene in the movie, probably. Is his leading up to his breakdown.
Yeah.
Because he fucking has that breakdown in the trailer where he's like fucking freaking out and he's yelling at himself and drinking and like, I'm going to fucking quit drinking right now. And then he fucking drinks more and then he fucking smokes like 12 cigarettes in one go. And he's like arguing with himself on how much of a fucking wreck he is. Yeah. And then he fucking cleans up and he goes out there and he's like, and fucking.
He's like, let's just go kick ass.
And he fucking acts and he like washes all this fucking neuroses that has just been
building on him. Yeah.
Yeah. He did such a god. That's what fucking knocked me over was because Brad Pitt was great, but he's a straight man for Leonardo DiCaprio. And you need him as that fucking perfect neutral guide. To keep him straight through the movie. But it's this fucking constant building tension within Leonardo DiCaprio of his fucking like nervous breakdown. He's going to fucking freak out. You don't know what's going to happen. He's at the end of his fucking career. He's freaking out. He has to go do spaghetti westerns because nobody's buying nobody's buying westerns anymore in Hollywood. They want space. This is right around the turnaround for Star Trek.
Yeah.
Where they all wanted space TV shows. Your plot line for the first Toy Story, basically, is that transition. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
That's what the transition of the first Toy Story is replacement
that's why
of Cowboys.
I love that. That's why I love that first Toy Story, man. Is because it's telling this same story.
It's essentially Once Upon a Time in Hollywood without flamethrowers. And fucking
and the Manson family.
And which was a fucking the coup de grace, bro.
Well, that was the candy at the end. That was just
that's Tarantino.
That's Tarantino. Him just giving you just the straight savory flavor at the end.
And he fucking sets it up too. It's not like it comes out of nowhere.
No,
he shows you the fucking flamethrower and he's like, "Let me show you how it works." And they do a scene where they show you he's burning something with the flamethrower. He's like, "Can we do something about the heat? It's fucking too hot."
Yeah. And going back to like Brad Pitt playing crazy. Right. Is and that's like some of the best Brad Pitt being crazy.
The subtle
is
underlying like, crazy is what you're talking about.
Yeah. So spoiler alert: the Manson family when they walk in at the end and he's freaking stoned out of his mind.
Well, he
gives that laugh.
He drops acid.
He drops acid.
He's gone.
And he gives that laugh, and you know it's just like, oh fuck, it's crazy Pitt.
Yeah, he's fucking gone at that point. That's the whole film. I love how it fucking winds up to that point too.
Yeah,
because the whole first hour is world building, and you're just living in Hollywood at this time.
Yeah,
and like it passed so quickly that I don't. All it does is just this excellent vehicle to pass you and set you up where you are, and you just have like little hints of like things to come.
Yep.
As you go. And like the second act is where everything all of a sudden falls together. And everything is set up premonition wise, like in the beginning of the first act and the second act, it's all comes back and it's perfectly executed in this beautiful way. And you get that hint because allegedly it's never answered that Brad Pitt killed his wife on that boat.
Right.
Which is a reference to that actress that disappeared. What's her name? There's an actress.
Yeah, I don't know the names of these, but
okay.
I know
So there's a great murder, allegedly.
Right. Missing persons case.
Did you? Well, Christopher Walken was on that boat too. True story. I believe it was Christopher Walken. So he allegedly knows what happened on the boat, but he's like, I don't know what happened.
I wasn't there. I don't know.
This guy killed his wife or something. We'll look it up and I'll give you the details on who it was. She went on this boat ride and never came back.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know.
I don't know what happened.
What happened. Yeah. That was their fucking bullshit story. And she fucking fell off.
Right. And of course, just being even just mildly involved in that is just going to throw the freaking stink on you, man. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. That's why Christopher Walken ran away like hell. And fucking kind of came back later in his career when he was older, like in the 80s is when he bounced back.
Yeah. Because he was a big TV actor in the 60s and 70s.
That's right. He was young back then.
He was young,
and
man.
So he like had
I
a
remember
washout.
seeing a Hawaii Five-0 episode with him on it.
Yeah, and he looks critically different than he does.
Crazy different.
There was definitely a change.
Yeah.
Because in his youth, he's like very chiseled and handsome, like typical Hollywood youth, leading man quality. You know what I mean? And then he becomes and I'm not saying he's ugly. He has a very unique look.
He built his own sort of unique character around himself.
And it's which is what got him everything that he has.
Oh yeah,
is because he managed to fucking formulate this, whatever he is. Christopher Walken
just this character known as Christopher Walken that suddenly everybody was like, I want that guy.
Yeah, he's very unique.
Yeah.
It's not just in look, but behavior and the cadence. It's his cadence and how he talks. That everything adds to that. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, like, you can go back to the cowbell and Saturday Night Live. And fucking, like, they took him just because he talks with this fucking cadence. I don't know. Joe Dirt is my favorite because he fucking he hams up.
He hams up
his own cadence and like turns his shit up to 10. But in Hollywood, you have that fucking mode, and to something to be said about the first half of the film, not just overall for best actors and our Oscar stuff that we're leaning to, but it was about this time in Hollywood and this type of TV show, which I really liked. And they don't make that kind of TV show anymore. No. That's because it's serialized in the same way that I like Star Trek, which I was talking about Star Trek earlier. I think before we started recording, I can just turn it on.
Yeah.
And watch whatever episode. I don't need to watch the fucking episode before. I don't need to watch the first season. It's not like, oh, have you seen Daredevil? And you're like, no, I haven't watched that. Well, you got to watch season 2. But I'm like, I just said I haven't fucking watched any of it.
So I'm not going to get anything out of this.
You want me to watch like the Punisher parts because I like the Punisher, which I ended up doing. But I skipped a lot of episodes. Would have felt like a dick because I was like, the Daredevil part is cool.
Yeah. But
I just want to see Frank Castle freak out and fucking kill people. There was none of that back in the day because I didn't know who was fucking tuning in. So you have your hour-long pill.
Yeah.
Episode condensed into a pill.
And they wanted to, sell it to whoever after it's done,
That's right. And formalized and then roll it out. And
yeah.
It's serialized, mechanized.
Yeah.
And the first Star Trek was definitely like that. But it was like the Twilight Zone was like that. And you have this very specific flavor of show that they weren't doing in movies. It was done for TV.
Yeah.
This very specific thing. And now that they have like streaming and stuff like excuse me, Jesus. Streaming and stuff like that now that doesn't exist. Like The Mandalorian.
No, it doesn't.
The Mandalorian did it in a sense where they released it weekly.
Yeah.
and it didn't feel like I had to directly watch. After the first 2 episodes, I didn't directly have to watch any of the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of fits.
Yeah.
And it's why I really liked it, because it was just like they're going to fucking just kind of do an episodic adventure.
And it's just classic storytelling.
Which is my favorite kind.
Yeah.
And it seems to have evaporated in everything else.
Everything, yeah.
And that's, I mean, like, this is why I don't watch anime anymore. I've complained about anime.
Yeah. It's hard to...
period, because there's very few things that are built like the way, and I'm not trying to sound stubborn and stuck up, like I love the old ways of how these things fit together, but everything is set to be like, oh, you gotta watch the fucking this season, now he fucking, you gotta watch that season, like this character is introduced there, now it's a key fucking part of the story that you fucking didn't see, so fuck you. And that's how most anime is put together, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
You have your fucking, let me lay out your episode of any, insert here your name.
Yeah.
You have your main character who's a fucking dipshit asshole. He's an asshole. And I'm not an asshole in the sense where he's a jerk. He's a fucking kind of a pathetic douchebag who hangs out. Right? He just fucks around.
He's just fucking around, yeah.
He's kind of a loser. Maybe it doesn't make, you have your goal that he wants. He doesn't make it with something. He doesn't get the ladies. He doesn't get to be on the sports team. Doesn't get to be, his dad doesn't like him or something, or his mom died, or his parents or whatever. Something is fucked up in his life.
Yeah.
He finds out that he has fucking powers, or is chosen to do, he's saving the universe while he's beating off in his bedroom. You know what I mean? He's magically chosen to save the universe and has one power. He has one thing that he brings to this table, and he's fucking not good at it.
Yeah.
But by the end of that first season, he does something with that one fucking power that makes you think, wow, that's fucking really cool. I want to see what they do after another 26 episodes to fucking show me the next part of his power. And that's how they fuck you over and over again. And that's why I can't fucking do it, dude. I cannot watch most of it. It just burns me out. I like my things condensed in the form towards, like, I want to be able to just sit in, okay, what's going on here in my episode? Okay, cool. Here's our problem. We're going to fix it. Yeah. And then we get there. You tell your story in one fucking bit. Yeah. And that's what the fucking whole romance of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was about that type of storytelling. Yeah. It's about that. There's mystery to certain things that maybe you'll never figure out. It doesn't fucking matter. It's just like we're watching this adventure with these
these characters interact. Yeah. We're learning about them. We're learning about how they react to different things.
There's nothing. We get how they work right away. There's nothing too crazy going on. Yep. There's not fucking a secret organization or aliens or some fucking crazy Shyamalan reveal at the end of this. It's just like we have interesting characters. We learn to care about these characters through good writing and proper care of how they put things together. And then we put them in a situation. And that's all it was. Yep. And then you get to see how the characters that you fucking care about, because you just learned to care about them, interact with this fucking situation. And that's all I wanted. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. And it was a love letter to that type of storytelling anyway. Yeah. And you have your crazy Brad Pitt, which he's great at fucking those moments like that. And they don't use him enough ever in any of that stuff. Tarantino brings that out of him.
He does.
Yes, he's done that in a lot of his other films. Inglourious Basterds. Yep. Was a fucking... It was like a swan song for me in the sense that it was just a fucking fun, ridiculous... Because they used to make films like that, like Kelly's Heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And like...
Where they didn't care about like any kind of historical significance.
It's just like, we're going to fucking tell a cool story. Here's our setting. Nazis are your bad guy.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Where Eagles Dare.
That's right.
Holy shit, I love that movie.
So... It works because you know what the bad guy is. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be explained to you what the Hitler and the Nazis are, or the Germans in the war.
Right. It's a general setting. You know who the bad guys are. You can guess who the good guys are.
That's right. That's it.
It's just...
And now there's no fucking intrigue. There's no nothing. We have a cool character. Your setting is preset for you, so you don't have to worry about it. There's less thinking involved. You just get to enjoy where the fuck you're going. Yep. Like where Eagles Fly, like you're saying before.
Yeah, where Eagles Dare. Yeah, where
Kelly's Heroes is like one of my favorites. Yeah. Because it's just this fucking heist movie in the middle of a war. And they're like, fuck the government, fuck everybody, fuck the U.S., fuck Germany. We're going to take all that fucking gold and disappear. And just fucking disappear. And they get there, and at the end, the Germans are like, I'm down with that.
They're like,
Yeah.
We see what you're doing, and we like that idea
Nobody
too.
has to die here. We can all just walk away with money. And they're like, all right.
That's the idea.
That's
Here we
the
go.
idea. And I loved it because there's like humanity to both characters.
Yeah.
Like, they reveal that the Germans are like, we don't fucking be here either. We're guarding this fucking bank.
Don't even know why. You guys are coming down hard on us. Like,
yeah, and they walk away at the end with just all the fucking money. It's a great fucking film. If you haven't seen Kelly's Heroes,
it's fantastic.
It's
all-star cast, ensemble cast.
I think it's some of Eastwood's best.
Yep.
He does a good cowboy, but I love him better in these. He's a great fucking, because he's such an interesting fucking dude to follow, and he's a great. Because he doesn't play a good officer in the military at all. No. He's fucking horrible at being a fucking superior officer. But you want to fucking hang out with him.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and you don't want to fuck with him.
That's
kind of his whole deal.
And he's a bad motherfucker, too.
He's running around. He's just a bad motherfucker. Like, everybody's story about him, they're like, well, what's this guy's deal? He's like, oh, well, he actually used to be like, what was he? He was like a major or something before, and he's now
he got busted down or something like that.
He got busted down.
And so he's like, fuck that.
And he's like, well, why? And so he's like, because he freaking decked an officer in the face.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember exactly how the story went.
You got freaking Don Rickles and Donald Sutherland.
Dude, and Donald Sutherland was a fucking hero of mine back in the day. He was you don't get. And it's these character actors, dude. Like, you have
Donald Sutherland. He's like playing, if you put, I'm trying to think who, freaking guy from Encino Man.
Brendan Fraser?
No, the Stony.
Oh, Pauly Shore.
Pauly Shore. He's kind of like Pauly Shore in World War II. Is kind of how he's playing up. Kind of.
I get your concept. Pauly Shore should be fucking used very sparingly in any dosage. Any dosage. It should be. I love Pauly Shore, but it's like Pauly Shore only works in a Pauly Shore
in a
world.
setting. Yeah.
But what works about I'm fucking blanking on his name right now because
Sutherland.
I almost called him Hunger Games guy.
Yeah.
Donald Sutherland, especially in his early career, is that he didn't give a fuck.
No.
And that's how he was. Period. I heard there was Mike Rowe did a quick podcast. He does those quick ones. I don't know if you've heard him, where he tells a short story.
Oh, okay.
And you have to guess who it is by the end.
Right, kind of doing a little Paul Harvey sort of thing. He rest of the story kind of deal.
He reveals the end of the story, who it is at the end. He did one on
Sutherland,
On Sutherland. God damn it. I keep wanting to call him by his son, and everything else. It's Donald Sutherland. God damn it.
Yeah, not Kiefer.
Not Kiefer, because I kept fucking trying to choke that one out. And you caught me. Like, he's either he forgot or he doesn't know what the fuck he's going to say. But he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And when they called him, I think it was to me in MASH, he was watching a baseball game for the Washington something. It's a minor league baseball game. And they were like, we want you to be in this movie. And he's like, okay, great. And he's on a payphone. So I'm watching the fucking game. Tell me if I'm going to be in this movie or not. Because he's like, I'm watching the fucking game no matter what. And he hangs up. And they fucking need to talk to him. His agent is trying to fucking get a hold of him.
Yeah.
He's like, this is fucking really important for your career and my money. You need to pick up the phone. They end up calling somebody, and they tell somebody in the crowd, and they end up getting the whole stadium to chant, Donald, call your agent. Donald, call your agent. And they end up fucking yammering that for a good 5 to 10 minutes in the middle of the game. And he's like, fuck! So he gets up and fucking picks up the phone. And when he picks up the phone, they're like, do you want to do this movie or not? And he's like, yes, fine. Okay, cool. And he hangs up the phone. And ended up being like one of his, I can't remember what role it was. It wasn't MASH. It was the one right before that got him everything else.
Yeah.
And he didn't give a flying fuck, period. And that's kind of how he existed through Hollywood at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So he's just a very unique individual. And you have Telly Savalas, who is that also. And you have it's this interesting cast of characters, which is what Once Upon a Time in Hollywood kind of echoes.
Yeah.
That sense.
That era, where
you have your fucking badass that you want to hang out. This guy's going to take us through this mission. You have Telly Savalas, who was also a badass at the time, mind you, but he was like the scary Italian fucking Kojak guy who'll yell at you. You have Don Rickles, who is like a fucking comedic
just a freaking
genius.
slayer, yeah.
He's a killer, a fucking stone cold killer at the time. And you have a cast like this, and these fucking assholes are going to go rob a bank. It's kind of just like, in a sense, it feels a lot like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but there's a lot of films that are like that of that era. And that's what I loved about it. Is because it transports you enough to where you're like, okay, the premise is ridiculous overall. Yeah. But I love everything about where I'm at and these characters. You like these characters so much that you will just follow them. Let's just fucking go and
let's just throw them in a situation and you forget about it. Keep going with it. Yeah.
And that's why it was my favorite film of the year, is because it had all the right pieces and he put it together so well too. It was a very well put together movie. Yeah. But it had everything else that I loved about the film overall. And that's high praise because we saw a lot of badass films. And the last one I saw was 1917, which I consider is a fucking almost like a tapestry that should be in a fucking
it's a work of art. It's somewhere. A work of art.
It felt like an old Bible story, or in a sense like a Greek epic. And you know what I mean?
It's one of those things, where you're like, people are going to try to imitate this in the future, and
I hope they do.
And they're never going to get close, but everybody's going to know what they're trying to do.
I hope they do, because I want that to be imitated, and that fucking the attempt is all I cared about. That's what brought me in to see the fucking movie, because I've heard you told me, you're like, it's done in one shot. There's a lot of continuous shots, which I will argue if there's maybe 2 moments where I think they cut and changed out something, but it could be done either way. It's one shot stuff, but it's still done cinematically, beautifully done.
Beautifully done. They could have just had a tried to just make it steady cam, level medium shots the whole time.
Like D-Day and no, they didn't do that in they didn't do that in Saving Private Ryan. There was a couple shots where they like tracking shots, but everything was done on rigs and stuff like that. Spielberg is very like, we have to fucking be stable on the film. It was so unique. 1917, because I've been trying to, since I've watched it, because I didn't watch it with you. It was interesting to see it with somebody, my buddy Jason, who I've been friends with forever. His a different, because you and me have similar point of views on a lot of stuff, especially for film. And I went with him because he has a different, I wanted to hear his opinion on it. And he didn't have much to say because he was like, it was really good. And he was just like, because he loved how fucking accurate it felt. Yeah. Was his biggest thing. It's like, it felt like we were there, man. It felt like I was in the film. And I was like, I completely agreed. Because several times I lost myself. I was making decisions for the characters that I wasn't a part of. Like, I was part of the group. I was like, we can't fucking help this German guy. Yeah. In this plane. And I'm like, I had an argument with myself in my mind for a good couple of seconds where I was like, well, let's just fucking help him real quick. And then he'll get picked up by a patrol. And then when we turn around and this fucking guy's getting stabbed. Yeah. And I'm like, fuck. I was like, I fucking knew it. And it's like, I'm going through this while it's happening. Yeah. And as that scene ended, I was like, fuck. I was like, I got put in to that moment.
Into the moment. You were just totally engaged in it.
I was transcended by the art of the piece itself. And to the point where I can't, off the top of my head, name something that has put me in that situation where I was like, fuck. Like, that's kind of how Saving Private Ryan films feels. Is it's engineered to be like, you're quietly part of this unit as we go through. Yeah. And it's not captured in the same way, but I hold that film in like super high regard because I've talked to a couple of World War II veterans that have seen it, and they're like, that's it, dude. They're like, that's it. And it's with a grim look on their face and everything, where they're like, people that have been on that beach and that have been through those things, they were like, that's it. That's exactly what it felt like. To the point where it freaked them out, where they're like, not full flashback, but
are just
back in the time they were having flashbacks in the theater because they were taking veterans to go see this. They're going with their families, and they were fucking seeing this part, and they were fucking tripping out because they're like, I'm back in the war. They're like, fuck, and the survival instincts will kick in, and the PTSD will kick in. That most of those guys never got diagnosed with. They just lived with it because they were just hard-lipped about that shit. But it was, and I hold that film in that regard because it was like Schindler's List. It was taken, it was babied. And he cared about it so much when he put all those things together. I think 1917 transcends that in a sense, to where it wasn't about, because Spielberg cared about the event. He cared about what happened. Yeah. And he wanted to convey that as beautifully and as realistically as possible, and have cool characters with you as you go, which he's done in Schindler's List and a few other films before. He's great at, he'll grab a moment and then put you in that moment and like capture that moment.
Yeah.
Not necessarily putting you in it, but capture it.
Capture it.
Capturing a moment in time and reliving it. 1917 was, it felt like I lived in it, but it was because of the way it was shot too, which was a huge factor in conveying, because it's all subconscious. Like I was talking about before with Shape of Water. It's not things that you notice right away, but I knew we had shot in one continuous shot, and I couldn't keep that in my mind as we were watching the fucking movie, because the characters' trials were so heavy as he went through it that I was transported multiple times. The river scene. After that fucking stark contrast of the flares in the middle of the city as he goes through this inferno, like the Dante Inferno moment. Yeah. To that fucking moment where he falls asleep in the river and wakes up to gospel being sung in the distance, and he's fucking so tired, bro. And he's at the end of his fucking, at the end of this, it's right here. He's where he needs to be. He's where he needs to be, and he's fucking has to push himself one more time. Yeah. And he's called back by that song, and it's just like there's callbacks to the other, his friend with the same cherry blossoms and stuff on the trees. Yeah. And it's as you dive off of that cliff and into that, it's like fucking a complete change of mode for the film, because you follow him through the water, and it's like your setting changes and your emotions change, and then he brings you back. Yeah. And then it goes back to the stark reality of his journey, which was a fucking fantastical, ridiculous Roman epic of sense, to Cumberbatch slapping him in the face and it's like, you're still in the war. Right. And this is real life.
This is going to keep going tomorrow.
And it's everything you did basically means nothing. Yeah. All your sacrifices, it's going to fucking change tomorrow. They're going to send some other kid tomorrow to do the same thing. And he fucking goes to sleep under the tree, because it's like, what can you do, man? Yeah. They nailed it.
Yeah, they nailed it. Yeah.
And it was
it's the perfect mixture of cinematic storytelling and just historical realism.
Yeah. It was fucking perfect. Yeah. It was I would argue that it's a perfect film in some senses, and I will take fucking flack for that, but it was it was captured in such a way, and that's a matter of taste also. Mm-hmm. But as far as like just casting and score and the filming, which was used sparingly, not to be too flashy as you transported through the trenches and stuff. Yeah. But minute choices that put together fucking working around this fantastic cast that they put together. It was everything. It was perfect. Yeah, just perfect pieces to a puzzle.
Came right together, and I can't imagine the planning that went into this.
I'm gonna buy the Blu-ray. Yeah, I'm hoping that they have stuff on background stuff like we talked about the other day. I want to get back into buying Blu-rays. I'm gonna buy it Hollywood Special Edition because I want to dig into like the side stuff too. But we've had other films that were just as good at pulling me out. Like I said, Ford versus Ferrari pulled me out of my seat and put me in the fucking seat of a race car. You know what I mean? And I felt the fatigue of I understood, not necessarily failing it, but I understood how fucking tired he was and what it takes to fucking race the Le Mans. And Le Mans is like, it shouldn't even be legal to put on anymore with human rights and stuff, because it's just this excruciating in a fucking metal box, dude, with no air conditioner, and you're just grinding a fucking race out for days sometimes. It's a 24-hour race, right? It's one day.
Yeah, it's a 24-hour. Just you're going 24 hours for distance.
And no lights on the track. Fucking the lights on your car is all you have.
It's road race. It's
and it gets so bad that they have to scrape rubber off the tracks after it's done. Because they grind. They tires.
It doesn't. It's not like it's like more technology. It's just going to get easier year by year. It doesn't. It gets harder.
It gets worse. It gets worse
and worse and worse.
And it just fucking and it's all about. It really is man and machine.
I mean, that was the last time I think an American automaker sponsored team won.
I think they won a couple times after.
They won a couple times after that, but no other U.S. manufacturer team has won Le Mans since.
Shelby died shortly after that too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Sometime after that, because their racer died, but Shelby they fucking.
He died of cancer at some point.
Ford fired him. That's what it was.
Yeah, Ford fired.
Was like, we're fucking done here.
We're gonna make the Mustang 2.
We're done being the best racing fucking car in the world, making the best car ever.
We're going into the Carter era. We're gonna,
we're gonna fucking not have turbos on our four bangers and do a 1.3 liter in the Mustang 2.
Yeah.
And sell it to you guys because you fucking love that shit. I almost bought a Mustang 2 Cobra once.
Really?
Yeah, just because of what it was.
Yeah.
I was like, what a fucking piece of shit. And it was right there next door to a place I worked. And he's like, the guy's like, that wiring harness is so fucked up, dude.
Oh,
You'd have to go through that whole it'd take you thousands of dollars in hours and maybe days.
Yeah.
To put that whole thing back together.
Worthless.
And I was like, I'm so glad I didn't buy it. But I just wanted it because it's like, what if I fix it up and just drive this piece of shit around?
Yeah.
Just to be like, it's that guy, that piece of shit. And like, nobody will know who I am, but they'll know who my car is. It's the one with the ugly Cobra on the front, the fucking Tiger.
The big giant, yeah.
Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Oh,
And it's a fucking, it's a giant piece of shit. And I would be like, but I could put a V8 in it later, maybe, you know what I mean? Get to that point.
You could. I've seen some pretty cool conversions people have done.
There's 302 swaps.
Yeah.
Because it'll fit a 302 Boss in your 4-bolt main with it's like a C5 transmission, which is Ford's like standard 5-speed, which bolts up to everything they have, whether it's the big block engine or the small. I think, don't quote me on it. But it's like, because that's like maybe for a V8, that's like another 2,000 with a drivetrain with transmission put together.
Oh yeah, like
already built. You know what I mean? I was putting all that together, and then I was like, fuck that.
Yeah, it's a Mustang 2 Cobra.
It's like there's no reason to fucking put that much effort in that pile of shit.
That's like those people who do like those V8 conversions of Pontiac Fieros.
Oh, dude, I met a guy that was so fucking down for Fieros, and I just was like,
Fiero people are hardcore. It's so weird.
It's weird because that car will light on fire and fucking kill you.
Yeah,
it's a giant fucking
It's
matchbox.
that freaking. It's one of those cars, late 70s, early 80s, just designed entirely on a cocaine binge.
Yeah, there was a lot of cocaine involved in the Pontiac. There's a lot of cocaine involved in the 80s.
In the 80s.
We can do a whole special on Stephen King, and I'll tell you about how much cocaine he was on.
Oh yeah.
That he wrote it. If you ever watched the original fucking TV show, it's because of cocaine.
Yep.
If you ever wonder like a reason for something, they're probably fucking
cocaine.
The DeLorean.
The DeLorean was cocaine. In fact,
cocaine.
It was funded by cocaine.
It was made out of cocaine.
It was made, yeah.
It was probably made out of cocaine. Let's fucking be honest here. Let's shoot straight from the hip. It was fucking, because it had the I-beam thing where the drive shaft is inside. You've seen the design. Yeah. That's for cocaine. It's not for a drive shaft. It doesn't have a drive shaft. It's powered by cocaine. Like magic, like Harry Potter.
Like magic,
yeah. Which is why it doesn't go very fast, because magic doesn't hold up after a while. But yeah, it's as far as film wise, like they captured this fucking moment, and I've defended Ford because there's people that ride that wave still, and I love Ford. I love some of their stuff that they do. Like now, modern car, I can say that about any modern car. I don't even really like my car that much.
Yeah,
but it's a fucking reliable car. It's got a good sound system and it's good on gas. But it's not like I fucking brag to everybody. I drive a Chevy Cruze, just so you fucking. I'm gonna join a fucking car club and hang out with other Cruze drivers. Who the fuck has time for that? I know people that they own like a fucking just a regular car, and they're like, I'm in a Facebook group.
I
take pictures of my car sometimes and post it in fucking like snowy lots.
Yeah.
Or like nobody cares about your fucking shitty truck, dude. Nobody fucking cares. Especially like, you barely could afford the fucking cherry bombs you put on the bottom of the straight pipe exhaust, and you're like, fuck yeah, I love my thing. No, you're the only fucking person who does. You asshole. Like you know who you are listening. And I used to be that guy, so I can fucking say that, because I was like, I'll fucking build up my Volvo suite and fucking at a 240 DL, and I still rep. Those cars are the toughest fucking.
They are
the toughest, longest lastingest, motherfuckingest cars I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
they're still driving around.
They're still on there.
I see 240 DLs around.
Yep.
And I wish they would just come back and redo like a vintage version of that for the new one. If they remade a 240, I'd be like, fuck, I'll trade my car in just to buy. Because Volvos, they fucking never fall apart, dude.
No.
And I fucking never changed the oil in that fucking car. I promise you. I tried to fucking kill that car. I would jump it off of stuff. It was like my first car. And it was a great car. And I fucking regret beating the fuck out of it. But when you're young and like 18 years old, you don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
you're like, I'll fucking put motor mounts on someday. I'm like, I don't give a shit. And that's why it went out, because the motor mounts finally went out. Because I beat the shit out of it.
The motor's just ready to just drop out the floor.
Yeah, that's why I had to stop driving it. And I got it in several wrecks and then like rebuilt it because it's like all steel.
Yeah.
It was a fucking great little car.
Yeah, you just pound everything back into place.
It was a fucking great little car, dude. It was all spray paint. I would let everybody I met, I was like, can you tag? And they'd be like, yeah. And I'd open the trunk and I have a ton of spray paint in it. I was like, just
put whatever on
Put whatever you want. Just don't cover the windshield so I don't get pulled over. And then I'd fucking leave them with the spray paint and just go off about my business and come back and there'd be fucking dicks on my car or what. It was fucking glorious. It was like, what a glorious time. My father was fucking furious. He was horribly upset when I fucking decided to let people paint my car for me. But because I would go, it was like $13, I'd just repaint it black.
Yeah.
Just flat black with primer, and then you reshoot primer, and then redo it again. So it's like the paint was probably holding it together at some point, but they don't make that shit anymore.
No.
But back in the 70s and fucking up to the 80s, before like they started getting really weird, because supercars got better in the 80s, but regular cars did not.
No.
There was not a lot of good things that came out of the 80s. Most things are bad from the 80s. Heavy metal music was good, punk rock was good, rap was good. But that's them telling you about how much things suck.
Right.
Everything about those things were like, this sucks. Everything fucking sucks. Especially punk was like, everything fucking is really bad. It sucks right now. Reaganomics sucks. The Russians are going to kill us all. That's the 80s for you. The Red Dawn will come. It'll come for us. but like that cut up to like muscle cars and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, because they were just first figuring out how to do like supercars in general, R1 cars. Yeah. Because the Italians were like, that's just how they made race cars. Mm-hmm. They didn't have hot rods and stuff. They were like, we built a fucking supercar. All of them had it. Fiat, you name it. Lotus, those fucking... Everybody over there was building them. The British, they had their Aston Martins and stuff, which was just like a badass roadster, which is like a death trap. The other day, somebody asked me if I had the money, what car would I buy? I'd probably buy a DB7. I said, just because I've never seen one. Yeah. That's the only reason. I'd buy something like a cool car that I've never seen, or like an MG Roadster, like a 1965, like the one that looks like a Hitler parade vehicle. Oh, okay, Roadster. You know the one I'm talking about? Yeah. It's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah, he drives it. It was cool. It was
a Roman Polanski's car right there.
That's right. Yeah, it has those cool pipes and has that fucking great like hot rod sound. Yeah. And it's not very fast, but
it's not very fast, and it's actually not very big. It looks all big and stretched out, and it's actually tiny.
But it's probably a fucking ton of fun to drive, dude. It's probably so much fun to drive, and I love stuff like that. And that's probably what I would fucking piss my money away on is like weird, cool cars to drive. Like I don't necessarily need a fast car, but I want something that's going to be fun to drive. Yeah. And stuff like that is really cool, but. Yeah, Polanski had they didn't show off a whole lot of crazy cars in there. They had that badass Cadillac. Or was
they had
the
Lincoln? Cadillac. They had the convertible Carmen Ghia that they featured a lot.
That was a cool car. That was a cool car.
They made it look cool.
I know it's a piece of shit.
It wasn't actually a cool car, but they made it look cool. I
know it's not a cool car, Ross. I understand. But it's like I just told you, I have a weird fetish for like weird cars. Yeah. And the Carmen Ghia is a weird car.
Little,
just like the Thing. I would smash the Thing around. Oh, yeah. I'd drive a Volkswagen Thing. You could take it apart with a screwdriver. Fucking, you know what I mean? I don't like how that panel sits on there, so I'll just take a flathead to it and fix it. Stuff like that. Like weird, because they don't make anything weird and unique anymore. Everything's all the same.
It is.
You know what I mean? There's nothing, we don't exist in a time where there's, which is why I liked, I don't want to break away from the film stuff, but Elon Musk's science.
His Cybertruck?
His Halo truck. It's the truck from Halo.
It's the truck for Halo, yeah.
I fucking loved it. And everybody was like, that truck is so ugly. I was like, fuck no. I was fuck, I would drive that. And it's fast. It's all-wheel drive.
It's fast. It's all-wheel drive. It's performance-wise, it's all there. I will defend that one. I will defend that
did you hear what he said in the thing when he talked about it? He's like, people are... The only reason people freak out on it is because they've been making trucks the same way for so long.
Right.
That people don't. They're so afraid to try something new that they won't.
Well, and the thing is he's not trying to appeal to the normal truck fans.
No, he's just like I want to make something fucking cool. That's basically is what I got from it. And I was like, okay. Like,
what's crazy is, that people don't really realize is that he's pricing it competitively in this current truck market. All right, $40,000 for a pickup.
Right.
Is
I didn't know you were knocking. I'm sorry. I would have gotten up and got the door. I just saw him jump, and I was like, do you know who... does this happen?
My little brother just jumped the backyard and got into the house.
I didn't even snap. I was like, because I thought I heard something, and I was like, I didn't hear any knocks. I was like, okay, maybe it's just like the wind or something. I see him jump the fence, and I was like, hey, Ross, there's a strange man in your backyard.
You just crawled over the roof.
Yeah. I was like, well, fuck, I would have done something. I felt bad. But yeah, the Cybertruck I think it's fucking cool. I would drive one.
Yeah.
Because the next iteration is not going to look like that. No, it's just a prototype.
No. This is what Elon Musk does. Is he grabs your attention. Yeah. Like he could have made the most amazing electric vehicle starting out and made it look like.
He's a provocateur.
Made it look like a Volkswagen Beetle or something very safe, something very.
Which
but instead, he's like, I'm going to do a freaking Rose. I'm going to do a sports car.
Yeah,
but I'm going to make it competitively priced.
And his sports car is cool. That Model S is what you're talking about. It's actually really cool.
It's really cool.
He's a fun follower on Twitter too. Because all he does is post memes for the most part, and like he never talks about any of the shit he's doing, except it's like sometimes SpaceX stuff. Like sometimes he'll talk about the rockets, and sometimes he'll talk about the truck, but mostly he's like, here's a meme.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like, please don't talk to me about anything else. Just do memes. And then if you post a meme, he'll fucking fire back at you sometime with something else.
Yeah.
He's a super cool guy, as far as I'm concerned. I was like, I'll support that kind of behavior. And then he smoked pot on Rogan's podcast, and his whole business was going to implode. And he didn't even really smoke it. Like he tasted it. Was all.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess his phone was blowing up, like, because his publicist is all pulling out her hair in the other room. I love that kind of shit, man.
Yeah.
We don't. There's not a lot of people like that. That same attitude is what got Trump elected, believe it or not. Not necessarily in like a happy-go-lucky attitude, but that hey, pay attention to me. Mm-hmm. And so people have like a pulse on him throughout history, regardless of his goings-on business-wise. And he just kind of exists, and people know that he's there. So he could totally run for president here in a couple of years and come out of nowhere, you know what I mean, and make it.
Yeah.
Once he starts getting into that side, that's a weird prediction.
Well, he's born in South Africa, right?
Yeah, but he could run for over there or something like that. He could run into politics over there.
Yeah,
because they do it all the time. And then like Arnold was not even from this country, and he got sworn in and switched it over, and he ran for governor.
Yeah, so he could get a governorship.
I'm not necessarily saying president was like choicey words, but like what I'm thinking is like run for some seat in some house where he has sway over something, because Arnold did it. I mean, and I supported Arnold's choices regardless of how expensive they were for California, because I don't like California, so fuck those people. And they should pay extra money for living in that sweet pocket of sunshine and beaches, because he did the Green Act, and he paid like all kinds of money to convert his H1 Hummer to be super fuel efficient,
hybrid or some
shit. He put all kinds of thousands of dollars worth of chips in there. I don't know how much money he spent on it, but he was like, get like 50 miles to the gallon, but he's got like super NASA injectors in there to like run the fuel and stuff. And he's like, it's possible, but he never drives it.
Yeah.
He never seen driving around after that either. He probably sold that shit. He could do it. You know what I mean? Back to the film stuff, because I wandered off into Elon Musk land too heavy. So
how do you think? Do you think Joker's going to get?
Yeah, that's what I want.
Shot out of the air.
That's what I wanted to get to. The thing is like the critics tried.
Yeah.
And the score has gone down since then because more people have seen it. But
it is like despite like our opinions on it and stuff, it is a very raw. It's
super controversial.
You can't watch it without having some kind of emotional reaction to it.
Oh yeah, it's made to fucking dig.
Yeah,
that's why I liked it. It's because it's made to dig into somebody some way somehow.
Everybody kind of has a different reaction. I remember reading an interview with Todd Snyder, and he's like, he's not going to try to like explain any part of it or anything.
He shouldn't have to.
Well, because also like just seeing some behind the scenes stuff, they basically like that movie was made in editing.
That's what I figured. That's what I figured by watching.
They let Joaquin Phoenix just like run ham and just do.
I figured they shot a fuckload of footage. They just shot a fuckload of footage, and then they put the pieces together at the end.
Yeah,
I can definitely tell in how, especially in the second viewing, because that scene with Bruce Wayne, that was just for the trailers.
Yeah,
that was fucking like reshot and like a Far Cry moment where they're like, well, fuck, how do we tie this to Batman? It's a Batman movie. And he's like, oh, fuck.
Bruce Wayne
is in there, and we'll kill Thomas Wayne at the end. Because like they were so deep into their own shit by that point that they were like, they forgot it was a DC movie.
Like, oh yeah, Batman.
Because you can't even tell it's a DC movie at all until they're like, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Here, look. Here he is. There's Batman. And everybody's like, oh, okay, Batman. Okay, I remember where I am.
But Todd Snyder, he had some interesting comments on it where he was like, people come up to me and have different interpretations of kind of what went down in the film. And so he's like, it's ending up as kind of a Rorschach where everybody's seeing their own interpretation.
I think that was how it's meant. That's how I took it.
Yeah. Honestly, they don't really commit too much, or at least anything that they do commit to, they're not like throwing in your face. It was an interesting
experiment of ideas throughout the whole film.
Yeah.
And I won't defend. It's not like a clear cut perfect film.
No,
it's not a perfect film at all. But it's thought provoking.
It's very thought provoking.
It was very challenging in the sense that they were experimental with these concepts while they were putting them together.
Yeah.
And Phoenix was fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
That was my biggest. If he doesn't get any acknowledgement from Academy, I'm gonna fucking. Actually, I won't care. Honestly, it'll be the same.
He doesn't like the movie's already had its success. The thing I love about it is, the director, the studio, everybody was kind of brushing off all of the attacks that were coming at them the whole time before it made $1.
That's right.
Like they were confident enough about the product that they had that they were like, screw off. We don't care what you think about it.
I love it for the fact that it exists alone. Mm-hmm. And maybe I thought it was a beautiful film in its own rights for its own ways because it's a very dark film. And I love those nihilistic dark endings because it's such a bold fucking choice to make this dark and
well, let's tell you the story of, one of the most famous fictional bad guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, it's not a pretty story at all.
It's not.
It's never been.
It's not.
And the Joker stuff has never been pretty stuff. It's like the cartoon is schmaltzed it up a little bit for Saturday
think it's
mornings.
Interesting the way some people interpret it as sympathetic, where I got out of it by the end and I was like, I didn't really see anything sympathetic about him. I kind of see him like he was always riding the razor's edge of just being evil. He's
sociopathic.
Yeah.
But they show you how you get to that point.
Yeah.
And you can feel sympathy. That's probably where they were like, oh, he's a sympathetic character, is because they felt sympathy for the character.
Yeah.
Because once you get to that point, you understand how they made that monster because of that severe child abuse and like the brain damage and his mother being fucking off the wall crazy his whole life. And then he comes to that train wreck point where he realizes my whole fucking life is a lie. And it's that falling down moment is that whole last act of the film. It's my favorite part because it's just this phoenix from the ashes. In
kind of rebirth.
It's this rebirth of he becomes something that even he doesn't know what he is, or he's just going to exist and do whatever the fuck he wants and try to do some damage towards the people that hurt somebody that didn't necessarily hurt him, but recreate the vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Through psychology. And they were accurate in their portrayals of that behavior, which is what saying the most to me was that it felt pretty accurate as far as psychological behavior and without a direct diagnosis of anything that he has.
The last time I watched it, I was kind of wondering if his laughter was a misdiagnosis.
Possibly.
Because
I think it could have been a stutter due to the brain damage.
Well, they associate with the brain damage, but I'm also wondering if he kind of developed a warped. Well, it's a warped morality. That it's a sign of a warped morality on his side. A type of narcissism where he actually laughs at cruelty. He actually genuinely finds cruelty funny because I managed to associate that a lot.
Psychopathic behavior is what you're talking about,
or just where he would. So, like, you look at any time he had one of his uncontrollable laughing fits, it was usually when some kind of cruelty was happening, or he would find something funny in something cruel that was happening. You know, like he gets beat up at the beginning, and he pulls the joke of the flower. He tries to, you know, he makes that funny. The guys are, you know, harassing that lady on the subway, and that starts one of his big laughing fit, triggers him. That lady snaps at him on the bus, and that triggers him to start laughing. Like,
yeah, those fucking pressure moments, the social pressure, where he's just kind of like, I gotta hide and disappear, but he can't.
Well, I think it's that he kind of realizes, especially at the end when he's full on Joker, that he does enjoy cruelty.
Well, yeah, that's obvious that he enjoys the fucking, because he's. I think
he dances every time he commits an act of violence.
I think I would argue that that's a release of fucking pressure when he's doing that.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that he's like, at the time leading up to the end, because he definitely does at the end. Mm-hmm. But at the beginning, he's expressing himself in a weird way, because that whole scene in the bathroom after he kills those guys, he's like, it's like a release, because he's like, he doesn't know where he's at that point. And I'm not trying to feel for the character and do a direct, we can do direct diagnosis if you want over the film. I'd love to talk about it because I thought it was so fascinating.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't think it was necessarily that until the end, because he doesn't outwardly appreciate that aggression, because that first one was self-defense. Mm-hmm. And he struck down all those men because they targeted him.
It starts as self-defense, and then he keeps going.
Well, he's also been shown to be pressured to that point where he's been kicked and beaten and been a constant joke. And so that was the release point where he releases everything. Yeah. So he snaps. And so he just unleashes it on the first people that were there to fucking catch it. You know what I mean? So they just all caught it. So I don't necessarily think that's probably where he gets a taste of it. And he's like, it felt good to take power over somebody else because he had no power of his own. Mm-hmm. Which is why I'm feeling like that's why it felt correct along diagnoses of most of these people, like with serial killer stuff. Like you can follow a lot of the psychopathic behavior and sociopathic tendencies, which is what he displayed, along with anxiety disorders and a couple other things that he has, and who knows what he was taking. It's better left a mystery. But you felt this pathological progression of his character, and that's where the sympathy came from for me. Is like it shows you how that person is made, and it's a commentary on those people, which those people never get that help, especially in that time frame of the 70s where they cut all the mental health funding. And that's why all these serial killers went fucking wild, because they were like, that's, you know how there's like a joke where people would laugh about, you went to a psychiatrist, or they'll make a joke about, you just cried on the couch and whatever. It became kind of a joke.
It was
for self-help and stuff like that. That's kind of that thing that ran through that timeline. It's still carried out a little bit today. That generation's changing, and this was a direct commentary on that. And it wasn't necessarily.
Well, you'd almost say that we have an over therapied society now.
I think it's a pendulum swing.
Yeah,
the pendulum has swung back the opposite direction.
Yeah,
in a way to kind of recuperate from the damage that was done, because there was a lot of people that were left behind, and with mental illnesses that have a lot of problems. I don't have any mental illnesses. I have ADHD, but I've been in the mental health system for most of my life. So like I got to meet a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And most of these people were just struggling to fucking be everyday people. Mm-hmm. They're just trying their fucking best to be what could be considered as a baseline of normal, which means
that's what we see in Joker is like at the beginning is him just trying to be.
He just wants to exist as a normal person. He just wants to have the same things everybody else has. He's got fucking problems, major issues, you know what I mean? And they're underlying, but the medication and therapy helps because he gets to talk about it.
Yeah. And then he loses access to the medication.
And that's where your drop off and changes in character comes from.
It's complete drop off, yeah.
Because
suddenly he just starts to find ways to morally justify his behavior.
Which is it's almost it's not sociopathic. I would say schizophrenic tendency.
Or narcissistic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's because at no point they don't show you anymore where the lines of reality are.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
No. Yeah.
And so neither should you. And so you follow that character through this fucking wonderland of this wreck that is his life. and he doesn't know up from down.
Mm-hmm.
And until you get to the point where he goes into that girl's apartment, and he's been dating her for months, and he didn't know that he wasn't dating her. And so he's like, he didn't know what the fuck was going on. He was fucking completely lost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the deep end. That's where he goes to the deep end, because he realizes that it wasn't about the medication. He probably sat there and realized, fuck, it's probably because I haven't been taking my pills. And it's fucking gotten to this point. So he's like, I don't need that. I'm going to fucking change. Yeah. So he goes to his metamorphosis where he becomes this fucking psychopath killer on this hero of the people, which became a hero of the people. I thought everything was so thought provoking about it. And like, we can do a full synopsis about the film and talk about it, because there was so much there.
Yeah.
Because that's why I want acknowledgement from the Oscars or anything in general, because it was such a bold movie. Bold because of the choices made in editing. Like you said, I could tell that because sometimes you have to do that with something that looks like this. Yeah. The studio would be like, you have to fucking change it. So he shot the fuck out of stuff and could have made it any way they want.
Any number of different ways.
Which is how they make most films today, which a lot of people don't realize. You shoot the fuck out of a bunch of different things, a bunch of different ways. It's not like theater where it has to exist in this moment as you see it, as you experience it. It can become something else fucking 10 months down the road. Yeah. A completely different film where it's changed.
It's the real talent where somebody can film a movie that way and can actually have a cohesive product.
Take Star Wars, for instance. Let's talk about the most recent Star Wars, because we briefly talked about that in one of our other episodes where we were working on this. The last Star Wars movie is there are multiple changes and choices throughout that film where they don't know where they're going. And it's changed in editing at the end of the film. They probably had a great product in the beginning, and because Kathleen Kennedy can't get her head out of her own ass, she's like, you have to fucking change this and that. Remember when I called Chewbacca dying? Yeah. And he fucking died? And then they're like, he's not fucking dead because we don't know what the fuck we're doing. Surprise! And it's like, that's the whole fucking right of the movie. Yep. That's done at the end, man.
Yep. No, that's all done because it was just a dialogue scene, a couple characters just talking. They're like, "Oh, he didn't die because there was a second ship."
And
I'm like, "You're going to explain that away with they just ADR'd in."
Yeah. Which is and that fucking answer for fucking Finn in the beginning of the movie, which fucking stopped everybody. Everybody was like, "What did he have to tell fucking Ray? What the fuck?" And because even they were like, "What the fuck?" It's lost in the editing floor somewhere.
You notice like Chewbacca is never in any like major scene.
No.
With the rest of the
because
crew.
Because he died.
Because he did die.
Because and then I'm calling that prediction a fucking.
They reshot a bunch of bullshit with the him in there.
I still call it a winner chicken dinner for me because I cheered in the theater. I was like, yeah, fucking, I called it, bro. I nailed it. That was my big call out. That Chewbacca's dead. Out with the old, in with the new was the whole theme of the last two movies. And they fucking pussied out at the end. Yep. They fucking pussied out. Because they're like, what if nobody likes? Well, nobody fucking likes you anyway. Like, who fucking cares? At least go and have the balls to fucking finish the film. Have the
balls to do it by the end.
And Joker did. Joker had the balls to fucking deliver the message that they wanted to do. That whole, because it's not just the director, but the production crew, everybody involved had to be uniformly together on this, to where they're like, that's fun. It's edgy. It's fucking, it's crazy. And it turns stomachs. Mm-hmm. Some people, and I loved it because it was so fucking in your face, and it was just so, because they made those decisions, and there's still people willing to make those choices, and the studio defended it, like you said. That fucking never happens anymore. That I can think of where they'll defend something.
Defend it, before it's even made $1.
That's right. It maybe will make money.
It would have been one thing if they came out, 2-3 weeks in, and they were seeing just like the trajectory it was going, and they were just like, hey, you know what? Yeah,
that's right.
Screw you guys, we're doing great.
And before the pitch, they fucking were like, we'll defend it.
Before the premiere, they were just like, yeah, no Hollywood press. Who cares? We're just going to bring friends and family and crew and stuff, and we're going to have a premiere with all these people who actually care about this movie. Not all the people that have been trying to shoot it down before they ever even saw a bit of film. So screw those guys.
And I value it so greatly because of just for the fact that it exists. Like I said, for the fact that somebody dared to make it and dared to make it that way. Yeah. And that meant a lot to me because you have your fucking moments that we've had this last year where people took risks with some of their movies. 1917, I can't imagine what went through in the production to make that film. And that was another one where I appreciated.
Well, imagine trying to pitch that.
That's what I'm
sell
saying.
that and pitch that to a studio.
Where they're like, we want to do a World War One. To
get
a World War One epic made anyway.
Made at all.
To get that introduced and be like in an era where that's not the trend right now.
Mm-hmm.
To get that made. But then be like, we're going to do the most ridiculous fucking thing, most preposterous idea.
Yeah, film it the most difficult way.
And do it all in one shot.
Do all location, all oneers, all, and just...
with the fucking punched up theatrical cast, which those guys are going to cost. Everything's going to cost.
Yeah, the creme de la creme of British casting.
And I can't... The fucking shooting of the fucking thing, it's got to be madness. It has to have been like a fucking grind, dude, to do it over and over again. And to imagine getting through with one whole shot and be like, we're going to shoot the whole fucking thing over again.
Yeah.
And you're going to shoot the whole movie over again. Everybody back to your places. We have a daylight. We're shooting it again. And shit like that, dude. Like I love it because of what it is. Mm-hmm. Not just because it ended up being the most beautiful piece of film art that I've seen in a long time, overall. But they dared to fucking make it. And there's a lot of those films that, like Tarantino, he dared to make his fucking crazy love story that for him, that was his own love story for himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they did it because he's only going to make a couple films left. If anybody else pitched that movie, they wouldn't fucking made that movie. No way. And it exists because he exists. And we had a lot of this year where that's why I said Ford versus Ferrari was my dark horse, because I loved it without expecting to love it the way I did.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale nailed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was last year was a year for fucking tremendous actors, tremendous character actors. And I'm seeing like the rising of new stars now, because Adam Driver has walked away from the ashes of Star Wars and he's gonna come out clean. He'll probably get a Best Actor or something because he's up for Best Actor right now. Is that what it is? Marriage Story, yeah. Read me that list off. Let's go to Best Actor. So, Best Leading Role, Actor, Antonio Banderas, Leonardo DiCaprio, Adam Driver, Joaquin Phoenix, and Jonathan Pryce. I'd say for Jonathan Pryce, I haven't seen Two Popes yet, but I've heard it was fantastic. Man, I really like Driver. He's grown on me so much, but look at the caliber of actors he's up against here. And again, it's kind of, the old joke of, well, it's just an honor to be nominated. Like, he's got his nomination now. Yeah. Like, that's even enough to just which I don't think he gives a fuck about I don't think I have a problem. Here's my problem with the Oscars overall. And this has become a fucking plague throughout Hollywood, and why it has a problem. I have a problem with it. And this is a controversial topic because I've been fucking thrown out of conversations for this because I used Jennifer Lawrence as an example. So she won her Oscar, right? She was in several things, and I liked her well enough. I was like, she's a talented actress. She's gorgeous, and it's like I had a crush on her when I was before. But she's been acting for so long, like Winter's Bone. Have you ever seen that? Mm-mm. It's an early film. She's about 16 years old. Oh, okay. And she plays basically like the mother figure of this family when the parents are gone. She's great. And she's great. She's super young and just gets acting. She gets it. Yeah. It's one of those. But she was okay. And the other stuff leading up, Hunger Games was okay because I loved the books. I liked, I'm not saying they're like the greatest books. I'll defend them because I've read them multiple times because I love it's very much a Spartacus story. Mm-hmm. That's basically what it is. Yeah. It's a readapted Spartacus tale for the new age youth, you know what I mean? And as far as the young novelists, young adult novels that came out at the time, it was probably one of the better quality ones because there's a lot of shit that comes out in that generation of books. Like The Maze Runner was great until like they got to the end and then they didn't know. Then they had no idea what the fuck they were going to do at the end. Stuff up. They just M. Night Shyamalan it for the rest of the way through. Yeah, did you read them? Kevin did. Yeah, it was. They were great. Like the first book was great. Mm-hmm. It was like I like this as long as they kept the story small in that small vehicle. Yeah, fucking worked great, man. Like we're gonna get out of the maze. Maybe we'll be in another maze or something. I didn't know how they were gonna do it, but then they're like, no, it's bullshit. You're gonna be in the fucking now. You suffer the trials of Perseus or whatever and go through the desert. And I was like, we've gone way too far past the fucking the fuel that this story had to begin with. And then the third one comes, and it's had an okay ending, but to be honest with you, couldn't tell you how it fucking ended.
Yeah.
I really couldn't.
Yeah.
I walked away from the film and the book going the same way, where I was like, I don't know what fucking happened there. I was like, it's great. It's like holding on to water that's ice. It's ice at the beginning. It's this form, and you're like, oh, I really like this icicle. But it melts in your hand the longer you have it out.
Smaller
and
smaller, and you have less and less of it.
And they ran out of the essence of what it was.
Yeah.
And Hunger Games, in the books, kept its momentum really well.
Yeah.
As far as the story, the revenge story at the end, and it had like this kind of a narcissistic post-traumatic stress ending where it was like a kind of felt really realistic, and you felt for the characters because in the book, I don't know if you read it. At the end, they fight this war and the rebels win. They end up killing the guy. Her sister gets killed because there's people moving sides on the rebel side, and they put her sister there in the square that they bomb. So the rebels kill her sister.
Yeah.
And this like Black Ops move. And so she's fucking caught in the middle of this war as this chess piece, like, like a Spartacus thing. Not really Spartacus, but this is your twist at the end on how the thing exists.
Yeah, like it's not gonna end clean.
And it doesn't end. And she lives after the war is over. They overthrow the government, and like everything settles, and she just lives the rest of her life with the dude PETA, which is a weird choice. Whatever it ends, the characters have to have an end. Mm-hmm. She lives out the rest of her life and has kids with the dude, and that's it. Like she survives with PTSD for the rest of her life, and the world is horribly scarred from the events that led to this point. But it had an ending. Yeah, and it had an ending that was satisfying enough that I could walk away from it and go, okay, like I appreciated the thoughtfulness of landing that fucking craft. Yeah, you know what I mean. Jennifer Lawrence goes with this whole thing. I went on this tangent about fucking the Hunger Games. We didn't deserve any of that. I'm sorry for that fucking that horrible crisis I put you through. She wins an Oscar for what is it called? America something. It's a movie. I never even seen it. I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. I know she walked away with an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress or Best Actress or something. As soon preceding her Oscar win, immediately starts demanding to be paid the most money, all of the money.
Well, because that's what these are supposed to mean.
That's what Oscars mean, right? I demand fucking bajillions of billions of dollars to be in your fucking movie. How many movies can you count that she's been in since? Because she stopped giving a fuck after the fucking Oscar came out. You know, she was in the movie Mother. You know why? She's fucking the director. Oh. She was with the director at the time. Not with him anymore. Yeah. As far as I know. But she was like, well, I need to be in a movie. And he's like, well, I need to get this movie made. So it's like, you put your peanut butter in my chocolate and vice versa. Here we go. We fucking made a movie. Haven't seen Mother yet. Yeah. Because she left such a bad taste in my mouth over her behavior of... That's the momentum of treating it almost like you're a fucking basketball player in the NBA today where you're like, I'm just going to trade up for more money. Right. Which is good for them. But you're already making fucking shitloads of fucking money as a movie star anyway. And now you're demanding more and more money for your Oscar. And this is the same on the men's side too. I got in trouble because I just picked a female as my example. But it happens on other sides too. Yep. The ones that don't fall back and work for scale because they like acting. Yeah. Because they give a fuck about making something or being a character in something. There's not very many of those people. Once they cash in with that Oscar, they're like, haha, I fucking tricked you. I made it. And now I can fucking skate for the rest of my life and do like half-assed fucking kids movies or something like De Niro doing Bad Grandpa. He tried to do this fucking free throw with the Irishman and save himself here at the end. I can act. But Scorsese's the only one that fucking made anything out of him. He's the only one that fucking made anything out of it. Yep. Anything that De Niro has been great at, let me fucking post a controversial content here. Everybody careful where I'm stepping this. I'm not a big De Niro fan because I think he's only good as the fucking director that knows how to use it. Yeah. And the director gets no fucking nods or no clout for being able to mold this fucking... You don't have to be that fucking smart to be an actor. No. You could be a fucking dumb fuck asshole and read your lines and just believe it. I believe it. If you fucking believe it, you can fucking put it on film and you'll be great. And people will love you in case, because Marlon Brando, I couldn't tell you how smart that guy was. I love him to death. He's one of my favorite actors. But he got really weird later on. And people found out once he had all this money, they're like, he's a weird guy. If you don't believe me, look up the fucking end of his life and see how fucking weird he got.
Oh, yeah.
Because he got fucking weird. De Niro's one of those guys where he believes he's the shit. Because everybody's been telling him he's the shit. And he's like, I'm the shit. In case you guys didn't fucking know. I don't think he's won an Oscar, has he?
He probably has.
I'm not sure if he has. But if it is, it's the same mode where they just skate off of this fucking win that they've had for the rest of their life. And now I can't take him fucking seriously in a movie anymore because I watched him in fucking Bad Grandpa. I think he got one in Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
I think it's Deer Hunter. The Deer Hunter. It's one of those things where they carry that so far and then they stop giving a fuck about the movies they're in. Daniel Day-Lewis, you can name a bunch of actors that don't do that.
Yeah.
Because they dig it. I want to hope that
he got Best Supporting Actor for Godfather Part 2.
Okay.
And got Best Actor in Raging Bull.
Raging Bull. All right.
He got nominated for Taxi Driver, Deer Hunter, Awakenings, and Cape Fear.
I don't think. I think that's fucking director, bro. I still think it's director. I don't think it's necessarily him. And I stand firmly by. And I'll watch his films. Sure. And I'll watch it like just being like, yeah, it's a good De Niro film, which is what The Joker was. It's a fucking De Niro movie. It's fucking. It basically is because De Niro couldn't be the Joker, and this is kind of how they set the film up. Now, Joaquin Phoenix was great because he was in the fucking mode, and he's my favorite part of it. But it's basically a fucking De Niro movie from the 70s. It's a Taxi Driver mixed with your Raging Bull. Or The Comedian.
The king of comedy.
King of comedy. That's it. And it's a De Niro movie. I don't know why they were like, let's toot fucking De Niro's horn so hard to get him in the picture, I guess.
Yeah.
Because that stuff wasn't what struck me as important as the performance of Phoenix. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was such a small part of everything.
It was the statement of the film that really got me.
Yeah.
And I hope he gets a fucking Oscar because I think Phoenix will be like, okay, cool, and I'll just keep doing whatever the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, DiCaprio kept doing shit after he won.
Mm-hmm.
Credit to where credit is due because I didn't think he was that fucking guy. I thought he was going to do the same thing where he'll cash in that Oscar and be like, fuck it, I'm going to do fucking TV show appearances for the rest of my life and just milk it forever. He kept doing fucking movies, good movies, and acting really well. And so after the nomination, I watched them closely. It's like, this is where you'll find out the quality of person that they are.
Yeah.
And if they actually like it. And I'm not saying he's a good person. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm saying the quality of his work. I'm not judging anybody on the quality of their character, on the quality of their
professionalism.
Their professionalism or their love of the craft.
Yeah.
Some guys don't got it.
Yeah.
And the Oscars is where you find out now, which is why I think it's all a fucking sham as far as award ceremonies and everything else. They'll just milk off of that. I won a Grammy. I won an Oscar. I have a Golden Globe. And they fall off because they don't have to give a fuck anymore because now they can make that demand for that big movie like Jennifer Lawrence. I want this much fucking money. And then she was like, I want more money than men. And they're like, we don't have that much money for this fucking picture. So where the fuck is this money going to come from? So they'll bump her for somebody who's way cheaper because they're not going to put up with that shit. Because they can find somebody that acts with the same intensity and performance for fucking an eighth of the cost that it would cost to cast her.
Yeah.
And that's where things fall off. And that's what I don't think she got. She's cashed in her money now, but we're going to see her later on and try to figure out where the fuck that train has gone. You know what I mean? Because she's like, I'm Meryl Streep. I'm Meryl Streep running around pretending to be Meryl Streep. Well, Meryl Streep actually gave a fuck after she won her Oscar and kept going.
Kept working, yeah.
And so despite fucking anything political on either side and what she says here and there, she's committed to fucking being a great fucking actress all the way through. And it has given out quality performances time and time again. But as far as like this list, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I'm worried that my point is like I'm worried that Driver will, if he wins, who is he? What kind of guy is he? Because I'm really starting to like him, and that's what I'm worried about. Is he going to be the Lawrence, or he's like, I'm going to cash in and fucking just do fucking Bad Grandpa hangover movies?
Yeah.
Forever now, because I can fucking ask for this much money and get it. And then just fucking sink those easy buckets, you know what I mean, forever and ever.
Yeah.
Like what De Niro did. He fucking rode that fucking wave until it stopped, and now he's like, I gotta fucking do the Irishman before I die because people will think I'm a fucking joke. Because he is.
Yeah.
I said it. I said it right there. I said it because
shots fired.
Shots fired. He was great before he fucking started winning. And then he let it fucking get up his ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I love his earlier stuff. Taxi Driver is one of my favorite movies of his, and I think it's a Scorsese film.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite. Because that could have fucking been any actor, honestly. Because I really feel like it could have.
It wasn't a character that entirely dependent on De Niro's mannerisms. Really, which
is basically his whole existence.
Yeah,
I would argue that could be anybody.
Yeah,
that could be anybody in that fucking movie. But it got made because De Niro was in it, and it's one of those things where he's riding his own fucking wave. He's gonna fucking come find me if this ever gets out and gets popular. 75, but I don't. And I don't give a fuck what he says. He's fucking high on his own supply, dude. Lives on Mount Olympus where he doesn't have to give a fuck, and nothing equates to him. So fuck him.
No, the people I really just like respect in Hollywood are the people who actually have a life and find success outside of acting.
Yeah, like a Newman.
Like Paul Newman, Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, well, he's fucking that guy went above and beyond, and he just does movies. Talk about
just a competent example.
He's a chemical engineer, right?
He's a chemical engineer. Yeah. He's a world-class martial artist. He was an Olympic coach. He coached an Olympic. Was it a quintathlon team? Yeah, I think
he just used it as a vehicle to fucking get.
It was
wherever he wanted.
It was
to
just
go.
Something he was doing in between. Was doing movies, and so like I have massive respect for people like that.
Yeah, he's a different kind of a human though. There's not a lot of those because most people get into acting because they're fucking want the easy gravy train ride, bro. They don't want to. They're not committed to that fucking tension of life and the ups and downs.
Yeah.
And Lundgren is one of those guys who it's probably from the martial arts training where he just likes that fucking grind. He probably just likes the grind.
Yeah.
Which is why he does it. There's a few guys like that are just fucking they're just into grinding, bro. That's just what they like doing. That's not their life is in harmony when they're in fucking motion and doing something. I can respect that.
Yeah.
But most of these guys don't do that. De Niro's not that fucking guy. He wants to sit around and drink fucking mimosas.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of. I can't name one of the new age that's. I can't. I fucking like Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe, yeah.
He's one of those guys, and it's not. Sorry for that noise.
You're good.
He's acting in stuff that he fucking just thinks is fun.
Yeah.
He's just having fun. Elijah Wood is one of those guys. Where I love his stuff that he does because he just does it because he fucking is into it, dude.
Yeah.
And I respect that so much more because he's like, it's not about the money. He's not doing it to get fucking paid. He'll work scale on a bunch of these other. He's a Lord of the Rings money for the rest of his life. He's in it because he wants to be in a movie about killing kindergartners or whatever that zombie movie is. You see that one?
Yeah.
Where they have like that chicken pox outbreak and it's like they're little zombies and stuff like that. He just does it because he digs it.
Yeah.
And I fucking respect that. And there's not a lot of guys like that. You know what I mean? It's hard to find people out of the mess because everybody's just like, I got to get some of this fucking Hollywood money, and they act like it's gonna just dry up.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of guys here that I can't beyond a reasonable doubt I can say between two of them here that they are the quality of dude. Joaquin Phoenix and DiCaprio are the two, without question, who just fucking dig it, man.
Yeah.
Because Phoenix he's just into fucking. I think he had such a weird childhood, you know what I mean? Because he grew up in a cult. You know, it's like backstory.
Oh, really? Oh,
him and his brother River Phoenix grew up in like in a cult, and they ran out and ran away. And I heard this story somewhere else. You have to look it up.
Yeah.
He's really interesting. He's a really interesting guy. And so, like, I don't think he really. I'm not speaking for him, but he doesn't necessarily want to be himself. So he's just like really into acting, so he can just be somebody else.
Yeah.
Which makes him fucking. He makes him that guy. Which I got it in the Joker. I got it because he just became somebody else. And he probably did a bunch of different takes, but how it came out in the movie is this pure essence of him becoming another person and this pathetic existence that he wanted to portray.
I see that, yeah.
Which is, he fucking nailed it, dude. And I hope he gets all the credit in the world for this. But I love DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood too. But he's already got a fucking Oscar. And I'd like to see what Phoenix does with it, because maybe he can make a AAA movie.
Yeah.
With fucking a crazy concept, you know what I mean? With an independent. I don't know where I'm coughing. I haven't coughed in like days, and I'm coughing because I'm on the mic and I'm yelling. I would like to see him use that money to make something else, because I can see him making like a weird independent film with a AAA budget, which is always like the coolest stuff that comes out of like that weird money. He'll produce something.
Yeah. With
his money down the road. I'm talking like way later, because I don't think DiCaprio is going to produce anything. I think he's a great piece to a puzzle, a piece of art for that art.
Yeah.
In the sense that he grasps becoming this other person that they can use as a tool. The director can, but I don't think he's the creator. And I think Phoenix is the guy that will use that momentum to create something else, and maybe.
Oh yeah, I'm interested to see kind of.
So that's why I hope he wins,
goes from here,
because I feel like and I could be wrong.
Well, and he's been coming off of a couple of years of minor successes.
Yeah, and he's been doing a lot of these weird, interesting projects.
Yeah.
And he could go do any fucking movie he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He could probably get handed scripts all the time, but he wants to do interesting character shit.
Yeah.
And I think more of that will come if he's got his nomination and everything else, because the production studios will throw way more money at him
mm-hmm.
to do whatever he wants to do, and then they can do maybe a Joker 2. I don't know what the fuck they'll do with that.
I got a feeling because the Birds of Prey is a bomb.
Oh yeah.
So I'm even wondering if they're even going to do a Suicide Squad 2
this
point.
I almost danced this morning. I have a fucking meme. I'll send it to you right now.
All right.
I'll send it to you right now, because I thought it was the greatest thing. I'll send it to you, and then you don't have to say what it is or anything. You could just look at it, because it's. I just sent it to you. I just saw that before I came over here. It was fucking good, and I've been calling that fucking bomb from way downtown, where I was like, that's gonna fucking blow up. And I can't wait for it to stink. And it's like, it's got good reviews and people are digging it. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. It's a fucking picture of, if you guys, I don't know if anybody's into Dragon Ball Z. It's a picture of Goku fighting Vegeta when they first set up their first fight, and he's like, "Let's go fight somewhere where there's nobody at," and they're fighting in the theater of Birds of Prey while it's playing
Birds of Prey,
and fucking nobody there. Yeah, and I was like, that's the sauce, man. That's the stuff that I like. But it's and nothing against Margot Robbie, because I've seen her act. Dude.
Yeah,
I've seen her do.
No, it's nothing against her.
I've seen her do great things.
Yeah,
and the cast of the ladies that are in Bird of Prey, they've done a ton of like shit that I've been really into in the past. Ramona Flowers is in from Scott Pilgrim is in this.
Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
That's right. I had a huge crush on her back in the day from Scott Pilgrim's, and she's been consistently working on tons of stuff.
Yeah,
but she's never been forefront. You know what I mean? And I think she's the best at that. She's good as like a supporting role, and people never.
Well, she was really good in was it Cloverfield Lane?
She was. She was main in that. That's right. Yeah. That was a good movie.
She carried that along. Well, I mean, it was. Well, she was holding it up with freaking John Goodman.
She was keeping up with Goodman.
Goodman.
And Goodman is a fucking. He's fucking.
He bulldozes.
Solid.
Yeah.
He's solid as a rock.
Yeah.
And his later stuff, like we'll talk about his stuff. His later stuff is some of my favorite stuff that he's ever done. Have you ever seen Red State?
I haven't.
It's a Kevin Smith movie.
Okay.
But it's a serious movie.
Yeah.
And it's about this cult it's almost Waco.
Mm-hmm.
And John Goodman is the cop who has to talk them down. The sheriff who's trying to talk them down from this, them all killing themselves inside this building. It's just a great movie, and he's great in it. And Kevin Smith didn't put his name all over it because he just wanted to do an interesting kind of a drama action movie, whatever thing. It was not really an action movie. It's just like a standoff character drama.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty fucking decent. Dude.
Yeah.
You want to, because Kevin Smith is really good with his characters, and John Goodman he's solid,
right?
Rock solid.
You're gonna play with it.
Yeah, in Cloverfield Lane, like people don't really talk about that anymore, and he was fucking, like he's so good at being believable and likable in the same sense that he carried that fucking crazy character perfectly. But then you find out he wasn't even fucking crazy at the end, but he walks that line, and he got there were no nods, no Oscar, no nothing for that. And he fucking was great.
He kills it. Yeah.
He was great. It's just because it was just like a retarded concept. They should have known.
Well, what it was okay, so like I'm gonna throw out Abrams and Bad Robot and stuff. Fault. They are the barnacle hanging on the bottom side of Hollywood.
Yeah, we could put Oscars aside and do a whole we can another half hour on fucking Bad Robot and what's going on with Star Trek right now, because there's major news in Star Trek involving Abrams' fucking his ball sack.
Yeah, he created this whole freaking business model of just parasiting Hollywood, top and bottom. So he'll parasite off of the top level ends of Hollywood with franchise stuff, with Star Trek and Star Wars and everything, and just get his way in there. And then with the Cloverfield stuff is he's taking these movies that don't have any distribution, that aren't able to
he's giving them wheels,
and he's giving them wheels, but with the stipulation of we got to go back, do a quick little reshoot with whoever your leading actor is or something, and tie it into Cloverfield somehow.
Right. Because he wants to be able to come at night when he's by himself, jerking himself off. I understand. It's a weird fetish he has, ruining things. He's
and he can't help but think that he enjoys it because he does it so consistently.
He fucking strokes himself daily to ruining everything. Not only did he fuck Star Wars right in the butt, but he fucked Star Trek in the same move. Mm-hmm. And one easy leap, he will fuck your whole childhood up in one shot. And people act like he's. What bothered me the most about him and fucking Star Trek or Star Wars is that people were like, let's fucking bring Abrams back. Like he's the fucking patron saint of saving shit.
Yeah.
When he fucking started this thing to begin with, he started that fucking, the thing that Rian Johnson attempted to fucking, how do I fix it? He's like, I don't know what's going on. Johnson didn't know what the fuck he was doing because Abrams set up a pile of shit, which was not going to end anywhere past that first movie. They didn't know where the fuck they were going with any of that stuff. And they did this with Star Trek. And I'll bitch about the Star Trek stuff because the first one, I liked the first movie. It's a great movie. Mm-hmm. And he's great at making the first of something. He's great at it. He's fucking fantastic. But if you have to follow that up, he's too good at it because he like resolves too much shit, doesn't leave things open or questions unasked. Because the second one is like a good Star Trek movie because it's like a counter existence to the other ones. But we're going to end up watching Picard here, right? Like you still want to watch Picard?
Yeah, let's do a watch.
Okay, so in the beginning of the new Star Trek, the new movie, like the reboot with Chris Pine, the Romulans die, right?
Yeah.
At the beginning. Red Letter did a whole thing about this. You probably watched it, right? Mm-hmm. The Romulans are a fucking pretty important factor for fucking everything Star Trek. They have a giant, huge fucking quadrant of space.
Right, yeah.
They own a fucking giant chunk of space. Own it. And enforce it with some of the best. The weapons are better than anything Starfleet has or anything the Klingons have. They have pretty good galactic starships and can hold their own easily in a galactic war if they wanted to. And they couldn't get off the planet to fucking evacuate themselves. They have, in Next Generation, you've seen them. They're the big, weird green ones that are like oval shaped. Those are Romulan
warships.
Galactic class vessels.
Yeah.
Which are like, they handle everything from science to warfare, like the Enterprise D. But they have superior weapons in a sense. The Enterprise could probably fight and hold their own. The Enterprise D would be a fucking easily match-to-match vessel on their equipment. And the Romulans fight dirty as fuck too, so they'll find some sneaky way to try to get around it. Those people are gone. They're all gone.
Yeah.
And he killed them all off. So he's like, that's your bad guy in the first movie, because Abrams doesn't give a fuck about anything that these people cared about to begin with. He's like, let's fucking use the Romulans. That's a cool sounding name because they're a sister species to the Vulcans. Mm-hmm. When they evolved, they started off kind of in the same area. They split off and went to two different planets and evolved separately into two different races. The Vulcans did not. They were more interested in logic and science and things like that. The Romulans were like, we'll fucking have warfare and we'll stay with the primitive ways.
Right.
So they're two sister species of the same genus. They're all gone. And they did that just because they wanted to have like a tie-in to Spock, because Leonard Nimoy was getting to the end. God rest his soul. Love him to death.
Yeah.
But they used him where they could sparingly, and the man worked every day of his life. You could watch. There's a whole documentary on his called "Searching for Nimoy" or something like that. His son did, and that guy worked fucking every day, every chance he could.
Another one of these guys who was just like massively competent and just was interested. It only did something he was interested in.
That's right, and he was one of those guys like you're talking about. He was a daily worker. This was his job. He could have been a great theater director. He wanted to. Because he wanted to do theater and stuff like that. But he's like, I got a family to feed. I got kids to raise. I got to work. So Star Trek just took off because it took off. Yeah. He was doing fucking hundreds of things at the same time. Commercials, you name it. Which is the joke in The Simpsons because he does like weird narrations or he'll be doing something weird. It's because that's what he did. He'll fucking go do whatever.
Yeah. Just because he finds it interesting.
He's like, it's interesting, but I need money. It's like, I'm work. And that guy worked like a lot. Yeah. Probably too much, which is his problem that his kid had, is that he hardly saw his dad, which is the point of the documentary. But back to Abrams being a piece of shit. They rode the Spock thing out because now they've merged the timelines. Because we got to the point where Next Generation basically happened, but it kind of didn't.
But it kind of doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't matter. Because Abrams doesn't give a fuck about the TV shows. The TV shows are your lifeblood of the whole thing. That's why those other Star Trek movies, the Kirk ones, that's why they exist, is because of the momentum of the TV show.
Right.
And they exist on the clout of that TV show and the logic around it and how it's kind of grounded in reality. There's rules, and they do a pretty good job of following the rules. And that's why the science fiction works for some people, because you want to get how the thing works. Once you get how the world and the universe works, you can get into the weird situations with your characters. People care about having that home base. Yeah. Which is what Star Trek had, is that home base with your characters, the people you care about. Your home is the Enterprise. We're sailing around and dealing with shit as we come across to them. And you have your characters introduced to wacky hijinks or whatever ensues. Abrams doesn't give a fuck about that. He's like, there has to be a huge conflict. Let's kill off the fucking Romulans. So he kills off the fucking Romulans. Goes to the next movie where Benedict Cumberbatch is Khan, which I was like, he was okay because he's okay. He was growing on me at the time. I was like, he's a decent actor. Yeah. I was like, he's not. I was like, he's not the guy I fucking want as Khan, because he's definitely gonna be a reoccurring role. Yeah. And so you aced him too big as a reoccurring guy who is gonna have to come back and deal with Kirk again. So it was already set up to fucking not work that way. They get to the end, they change the end, Kirk dies from he dies of radiation poisoning. They cure death. Abrams cures death with
because he doesn't care about plot.
He doesn't give a fuck. So people have no idea that this is how this works. They didn't explain how the death got cured. There was no genesis to fucking bring Kirk back. They shot Khan's blood into a fucking tribble, which just happened to be there, conveniently for a fucking Easter egg. The tribble came back, and they're like, "Well, holy fuck! It brought this tribble back to life." So they just brought Kirk back to life. They cured death. Yeah. They cured it. How the fuck do you walk away from that and do your next movie without acknowledging the fact that you can bring somebody back from the dead? He is dead. And you brought him back. And we're not going to talk about that ever again. Yeah. And then Star Trek Beyond was my favorite out of the three because it's the only one that treated it like a fucking Star Trek movie, where it's just a small plot, small adventure plot. They're doing their best to get away from that whole fucking fiasco with the curing death and everything else. Not mentioning anything. Yeah. They reference a starship that is in the original series that they come across, that Kirk's father would have ended up helping, who died way earlier than he needed to be. So it was. So yeah,
it was total different circumstances.
It was constructed plot wise, and I could dig it. I was like, it makes sense Star Trek wise, because it has to. They care about a logical plot fucking carrying through where things can tie together, which was important to me because I was like, it shows that they gave a fuck when they put the whole thing together. Abrams didn't, because he walked away after the second movie and he's like, I'm gonna go fuck Star Wars now. It seemed like overnight he dropped the last movie. He's like, okay, fuck this movie. I'm going on to Star Wars, and jumped into relaunching, which is more famous for being fucked up than it is for being awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Unanimously fucked up from people that are not only like lifelong Star Wars fans, but people who have never even fucking seen a Star Wars movie. They're like, that movie fucking sucked.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm asking people left and right, and there are people that defended it who, the people that defend it don't think about it when they're like, yeah, it was good. It's the same kind of person when you ask them, oh, you saw a movie. They're like, yeah, I saw a movie this weekend. Oh, what did you see? Oh, I saw such and such. Oh, what'd you think? Oh, it was good. And that's the fucking end of it. That's the last thing they say. But if you ask that person, well, was it good? They'll fucking stare at you with their mouth open and go,
you're wrong.
Yeah. And then they'll fucking start getting defensive.
Getting into it, yeah.
Because they were done with the movie. They were like, I spent money on this. I'm happy. I spent part of my life in this theater. I'm happy. I own this. I own this memory. And that's it. It's put in a box, compartmentalized, and they walk away from it. And would you ask them to take it back out of the box and look at it?
And look, yeah.
What did you think about it? They're like, I haven't done that.
No, you didn't look back on it, huh?
I haven't taken it back out. I bought the DVD, but it just sat there after I watched it one time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what everybody used to do, buy the VHS and it ended up on somebody's wall.
End up on the wall.
And they were like, oh, I haven't fucking seen that in years. I watched it when I bought it. And that's it. In case the apocalypse comes, I have it for watching again.
And you got to watch out with that when talking with people about these things. Is you don't want, it's.
I've ruined
people don't want to,
I've ruined friendships. People don't like
be made to look at things again.
Because I will force them to question the film, which it honestly doesn't. We're talking about something that doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
We're not talking about saving the world from global warming, whether or not it exists. We're not talking about deep political issues or who killed fucking Martin Luther King or who killed fucking Kennedy or whatever for all that matter.
We're talking about the movie that came out last summer.
We're talking about a fucking film that we both liked and we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
But there are people that it fucking truly unnerves them when you question the things that they like. And it has nothing to do with them. It's just like, why did you like it? And they'll flip that switch and be like, well, it was because all of a sudden you made them look dumb because they've lived their whole life this way and it's just been carrying on and just moving forward. And when you ask him if they know what the fuck they're doing, they say no and they fucking spiral out of control. And it's like that. It's like when in Rick and Morty where Jerry was in charge of the Plutonians and they're like, well, what the fuck do you do? He's like, I just Google stuff and it keeps working. He's like, I'm not really thinking or know what the fuck I'm doing. Yeah. I'm just existing. And this is like a weird thing I've been going through recently where I realized like as a child, you notice how you just like trust that an adult knows what the fuck they're doing when you're a little kid? Yeah. Because you have no reference of the world and you have to look at that person standing above you and be like, is that how it fucking works?
Yeah, they gotta be able, have the best, intentions in mind and have
clearly has fucking lived longer than me. Yeah. But then you get older and realize that nobody knows what the fuck is going on.
Knows, yeah.
Not a fucking soul knows what's happening.
No goals behind what they're doing or anything.
There are people that are a little better at it than others as far as like knowing stuff. But when you ask him, because as a little kid, you could just tell him, it's because he's fucking weird. Don't worry about it. Like my dad, I'd ask him, I was 3 years old. We're going back in time in the Wayback Machine. I was 3 years old. I asked my dad, because we watched the first Terminator. And we got to that scene where he cuts his eyeball out with the pin. Right. Because he's like just going to put the glasses on.
He's just going to,
And so I clearly remember this. It clear as day. And I looked at my dad and go, hey, Dad, why did he cut his eyeball out? And my dad, realizing that he's like, oh fuck, like don't cut your eyeball out. He's like trying to think of, he's trying to think of something to say. He says, I don't know, he's weird. And I'm like, weird, right? And I just nod, and I'm like, okay.
He's an adult. He knows what he's talking
right.
about.
And never questioned it again.
Yeah,
never ever. But remembering things like I do as I got older, I was like, my fucking dad did that a lot. He just said, I don't know, he's fucking weird, don't talk to him. And I'd be like, word. But he didn't fucking know. He's just like, I can't explain it to you. You get the fuck away from him. Run, go away. And then that answer was good enough.
Yep.
I said, okay, and nodded, and then leave it at that. Thank God it's over. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a parent. I can't fucking tell you what I would tell a kid because I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't fucking ask questions like that. Because I'll fucking tell you the truth, and then that will fuck everything up. Because now you know something that you weren't supposed to know at this age. There's levels. There's levels, and I'll fucking panic like Charlie in that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philly where I'm pointing at the board, and I'm like, who's Pepe Silva? Who is Pepe Silva? I have no idea. I have no idea who Pepe Silva is. He's not real Mac. I have no idea. And then I've heard a cool fan theory the other day that because he can't read, that it says Pennsylvania on the fucking letter.
Oh, shoot.
And so he was like Pepe Silva. And so he fucking, and I was like, fucking fits. I was like, it's brilliant. I was like, and so it changed that whole episode for me where I was like, I fucking, not only did I love it, but it was just like, it fucking fits with his character because he fucking always tries to read things. And Mac's like, that was really good. You almost got it. But that's not what it says.
That's not at all what it says. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they tell him that one episode where they're like, they send Charlie to do something. He's like, he'll adapt. And he's like, he'll adapt to reading? He'll adapt. He'll adapt. He'll be fine. That's life. That's me going through life as a child. Not knowing what the fuck is going on. Hoping for the best. And it's all these things of my childhood, which have J.J. Abrams has taken, which is why I push on people to question nostalgia.
Yeah.
Is one of my biggest things.
Right.
And it's, if I could impart a lesson on somebody, I would want it to be to question nostalgia because it's almost always used against you for monetary gain for somebody else. And it's like a psychological tactic used on you to be like, that's all Family Guy is. Let's take Family Guy, for instance. Family Guy, I want to say 90% of the jokes are not fucking jokes. They show you something that you know what it is. Yeah. And then make like a laugh track noise. And then you go, yay, I got it.
I know what that is.
Yay.
I'm in on the joke.
I'm part of something.
I'm part of it.
It ain't a fucking joke. It's not a joke. You fucking recognize something. And they went so fast, you got tricked into thinking that it was funny because you're like, I know what that is. I was alive at that time. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's nostalgia being used against you to fucking trick you. Like an evil trick. Abrams does this beautifully.
Masterfully.
This is my major problem with it. Is he'll take something that you, let's take my buddy, who won't name any names, but he fucking loves Star Wars. And we won't talk about Star Wars anymore because I had to have a talk with him about it. It's not fucking good. And let me tell you why it's not good. And I explained why it wasn't good, and he got upset. Because I questioned his whole. He was just like, it's good. It's not that he's like a dumb person or anything. He just like never questioned. Star Wars at all for being good or bad. He was just like, fuck it. Like the kids who went through episode 1, 2, 3 under a certain age, who had no problem with Jar Jar Binks.
Oh yeah. Oh, I've got a lot of friends who are.
There's a whole
generation of people who are like, I like the prequels. I think they're great. I like them better than the originals.
And you know, and
it's like okay.
I like certain parts of them.
Yeah.
And I can see why.
Yeah.
And there's people that just didn't have a problem with Jar Jar Binks. They thought he was hilarious. So I was like, I'm glad that we have that blackface in there for all kinds of reasons. They don't know why. They just think he's fun. But he was like kind of racist, a little bit more than a little bit, in my opinion. He fucking walked that line. But he's used as like a fucking like fucking. That's kind of fucking drawn with. We're not gonna get into this. Let's fucking walk around that subject. But it's pretty like nobody told George Lucas no. Nobody was like, George Lucas, that's kind of racist. And he's like, no, it's not. It's an alien. He's like,
that's kind of Phantom Menace, in a nutshell. Is nobody told George
Lucas's whole career. Nobody was like, maybe you shouldn't do that. There's no Spielberg to call him. They didn't have cell phones. He couldn't be like, hey, Steven, this is what I'm doing with Star Wars. Check this out. He would have been like, oh, dear sweet Christ, no. Please don't do that. But you know what I mean? Nobody told him no. Because
this is who I have cast for it.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. And it's like, I'm forcing Harrison Ford to come out of retirement to be in this movie. He said no. I don't know what the fuck. He wanted to die with the teddy bears. That's the whole thing. It's good on a certain level. And my thing is like, Abrams will be able to walk away through history without being questioned. Like a Hitler that never really started the genocide. I'm comparing him to Hitler. Is that fucked up? Like a fucking say
Hitler who stayed in art school.
Hitler was a fucking beautiful painter. I've seen his paintings. He could paint. He was great. He didn't. Don't worry about the other stuff. He was a fucking good quality. He did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. I managed to work that in there. You see how
I saw that.
I managed to do it satirically.
These are the jokes, people.
These are all. This is all. Jokes. This is my whole life. But Abrams will be able to fucking continue on. Which bothers me the most is that he will be remembered by this generation under us as like, oh, I really liked that movie and I liked J.J. Abrams. He's a lot of fun and I liked it. But he's like a fucking, he is the emperor, dude. Yeah. He's the fucking menace.
Yeah.
He's the Phantom Menace. All along.
I think he saw the prequels and was like, I think I'll build a film studio based on Palpatine's machinations.
You know what always made sense to me? Fucking Emperor Palpatine not dying when they threw him down a giant fucking energy core shaft. He survived.
Why did he bring him back? Because he's his role model. That's why. That's why Abrams brought him back.
Because he was
secretly the hero.
Because it's him.
Along. It's
because
him.
It is him. We've fucking got it figured out now. I'm on to you. He's gonna fucking blow up your house probably, bro. After this gets out,
man.
I better fucking change my address.
They found my plan.
Yeah, there'll be a Jedi assassin waiting to strike you down, but he'll have the plastic sword and it'll be very long and painful. You won't be able to. It'll be like a fucking Simpsons beating with a
because he'd have a hard time killing me because he can't finish anything.
He won't. Oh wow. Yeah. Wow, that was a fucking stinger. Yeah, he's a dirty fucking dog.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't even bring myself to watch some of his other stuff because all I remember is how he left this tainted and has been walked away. He's walked away from it. Like if what's his name killed his Kennedy, Helen Keller was his name, or
Kathleen Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy, yeah, murdered somebody, assassinated it live in public. And then got away, but it still was like coming out. John Wilkes Booth or somebody like that.
Okay, yeah.
Let's say that because he was a political figure in history who was well known as an actor. Say he killed Kennedy or killed Lincoln, and then fucking kept going like, fucking kept walking around and fucking talking and doing interviews and stuff like it. Kept acting. Nobody caught him. It's fine, and like would make jives and like talk like make jokes about killing Lincoln. Man, you died just like Lincoln. That fucking killed off just like would make jokes like that as he went on, and it existed.
Yeah,
and that's J.J. Abrams. He's a fucking nostalgia assassin. He's assassinated things you love and care about, and has been allowed to walk free, like O.J. Simpson. He just continues to carry on.
Yeah,
and will live his life perfectly pristine, with a legacy of fucking beautiful, wonderful Cloverfield piles of shit. Because he did something else for Netflix, right, with this Cloverfield thing?
He did the Cloverfield Paradox. But then I think Cloverfield Paradox, like he actually kind of learned his lesson and was like, okay, I got to stop doing this. But I'm still going to bring out these old movies, or bring out these sci-fi movies, and because he did Overlord.
He did do Overlord. It was okay.
Overlord is okay.
It is fucking.
It's a solid B horror movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. It's weird too because it's like, did he produce or direct that?
I think he just distributed it. I think he just got the
because I don't
got the money behind it.
He definitely didn't have his fucking balls directly on it.
No. You could totally see how he would have wanted to do a Cloverfield tie-in with it.
Oh yeah, he's like, and then it was secretly Hitler that was the monster that killed New York City.
Yeah,
it was Hitler who mutated, and it's like a Wolfenstein game where it just gets fucking out of control. But he's like a fucking happiness hitman. He'll fucking come in and it's like he came in and
you like this thing and you're having a good time.
It's like watching Barney the dinosaur be raped in front of you. He'll come in and just rape Barney. That'll be
which is funny because that was the whole South Park joke with Lucas and
it's exactly
and Spielberg doing the Indiana Jones Crystal Skull.
The thing is, it's like
oh no, Lucas
as a fucking as a fucking brilliant
criminal
as
on
a
the loose.
brilliant fucking joke. That fucking episode was so good, but it's like I can't. It's hard to watch. It's fucking it's cringy to watch, and that's all they wanted is you can watch it one time and you'll never forget it.
Yeah,
you'll never forget what Lucas did, and never kids. When you ask yourself, man, I got to get George Lucas back in here to fucking do this next Star Wars movie because he's floating around now, and he's like. Did you guys say you needed another fucking Star Wars movie? Remember that he fucking redid the original trilogy. He reshot and redid the other one just to re-release it in theaters to make money off of fucking stupid people. Because he put in another computer animated elephant in the background and he changed the fucking script of the movie where he's like, I don't think Han Solo would shoot Guido. Guido
kind of works too.
He's kind of a greasy Italian dude, as racist. He was like, I don't think Han Solo would shoot first, so he made a fucking trained assassin, Greedo, shoot into the wall. Which has been changed multiple times because it got changed for Disney Plus. I haven't watched it.
Yep,
I haven't watched it yet. It's been changed. I haven't seen. It's been changed like
iterated it again,
like 5 times. 5 times throughout history.
It's so crazy.
Now they both shoot. He shoots and then he fucking shoots and then like as he dies he shoots again and then confetti pops out of his fucking head when he dies. I don't fucking know. Lucas did this and Disney Plus did it as like a fucking big fuck you. I think they changed it again. I don't know why the fuck they changed it.
I don't know.
They got caught changing a bunch of stuff in The Simpsons too. Yep. I don't know if you know that they changed a bunch of visual gags. They've been caught red-handed, and they're like, "Okay, we'll change it back." But you have to watch. This is the problem with Disney. If you don't fucking watch them and hold them accountable, they will change. But you have to hold them accountable. Abrams doesn't have to be held accountable. He'll be like, "Haha, I blocked you on Twitter. I can't hear from you anymore." Yeah, and continue to destroy everything you love. So he's gonna probably even be allowed to come back to do another Star Wars movie because he's walked through this wreckage.
Warner Brothers is trying to get him doing DC movies, which at this point with Birds of so here's the thing with Birds of Prey being rejected, like that's kind of it. Like they'll do Wonder Woman. They're not going to do a Flash movie. They're not going to do a Cyborg movie.
I fucking hope they don't do a Flash movie. I'm angry. I'm very angry, but it's due for a reboot.
But they are,
and I know DC's,
so they are going to kind of jump ship. I mean, they're not going to do another Aquaman because they're not going to bring Amber Heard back. And
didn't Aquaman fucking take a giant dump? I think
it was successful.
Money wise,
critical wise, yeah. Well, but that's kind of always been the.
It's just
the
Little Mermaid.
DC movies.
It's just the Little Mermaid reboot. It's fucking dude. I've never watched it. I could watch it right now on HBO.
I tried watching it.
Really?
Yeah, and it just, it's not.
Did you get through it?
No.
Okay.
No.
Then I can't even get that far.
Yeah.
Because I've been presented with the chance to watch it multiple times, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Because it's like I used to respect Aquaman too. Was the worst thing, and Jason Momoa, I don't dislike him as a person, but I don't think he should be acting. Beyond like being able to make a few grunts here and there, that's his line. He made it in Game of Thrones because he didn't fucking have to talk. Fucking imagine that. And then like all these women would defend him because they're like, I'll fucking keep singing anyway because it's just Jason Momoa. Nobody else is saying that.
I feel like he's the kind he's one of these guys where it's like.
Remember the Conan movie he bombed?
Yeah. He doesn't have a great track record.
He fucking can't do it, dude.
No.
He can't do it, dude. And I will fucking start that hashtag right now. He can't fucking do it, dude. And like now the big Super Bowl thing, which I didn't fucking watch, but the biggest thing that came out of the Super Bowl was J-Lo's vagina and fucking Jason Momoa's insurance commercial where he takes his muscles off at the end of the day and he's like, you seen it?
I haven't.
It's pretty funny. He comes home and he like takes his he has like SpongeBob inflatable muscles that he fucking takes off, and he takes all his muscles off, and he fucking can't even lift the bar for the 45-pound bar. He's like, it's too much. Take it. So it's funny, but it's like he's just laughing at himself.
Yeah.
In the sense where it's like, how long is this train going to keep going? He's not going to be around forever.
No.
Because I remember seeing the Conan movie because I like Conan.
Mm-hmm.
the Conan comics.
Yeah.
I love the Schwarzenegger movies, and I will fucking diehard defend Schwarzenegger. Even his weird sex with fucking maids allegations, which are true. He fucking fucked his maid and made a bunch of little Arnolds. They're running around out there right now.
Yeah.
But I like his movies and I like him as a person. And I'm not saying he's the fucking best person or a role model of sorts, but I respect him.
Yeah.
Fully on, because he'll set a goal and he'll accomplish it time and time again.
Oh yeah.
And he'll not only is like a bodybuilding person to look up to, but like all around. I respect him.
He's another one of these just like massively competent people.
Yeah.
Where
and he was a decent governor too.
He was a decent governor. He's still politically involved. He's still heavily politically involved in California.
I still would go to bat for him. Like I said, I liked a lot of stuff he did. Even though he went as quote unquote democratic. But he had some interesting proposals. As long as you have that fucking sticker on you, you can fucking say whatever the fuck you want out there. You can say I'm Democratic. So here we go, fucking spilling into this side that I didn't want to talk about.
But even beyond that, like his, I love what he does with his sports festivals.
Right, and he's
like we're getting the Arnold, Ohio coming up here pretty quick, which is like one of the premier sports festivals in the world.
He does it for the kids and stuff too. He does a lot of stuff for the kids. He's a great guy, and I love his fucking movies. Even though he's like a bad actor in great movies, it's like the best way I've had it put.
Yeah,
and he fucking is, but I still like his movies. I tried to make you go see the new Terminator with me, which we never saw.
We didn't, no.
Which we walked away from that. That's the one I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna rent it so they get some monetary gain from me. But he's always, like, my favorite thing was he's always like the all-American cop. Like, he has like a heavy fucking Austrian German accent. You know what I mean? The whole time, I'm from America, and his accent got a lot better over the years too.
Oh yeah.
But that was the shtick when he first started in the movie Hercules. They ADR'd his whole movie, which has been remastered. I saw a remastered clip of it the other day.
Wow.
Where I was like, it was a fucking rough cut when it came out. You know what I mean? Cheap as fuck. And it was like remastered, like young Arnold walking around with the fucking 80-yard voice. I want to watch it again. Anyway, he's fine. Stuff like that is fine.
Yeah.
Abrams is the devil. What the fuck were we talking about?
Oh goodness.
Yeah, see, I went off track.
We went way off track. We went on and into.
It's okay because I do that. So this is what the whole podcast.
This is what this is. Yeah.
If you wanted to hear idiots ramble, you've came to the right place. we're here to fucking set you up. But we do have insight on back to like hard news.
Hard news.
And our source can be Midnight's Edge, I would say. But this is reported from other places in Midnight's Edge. It's becoming, these rumors are becoming more mainstream as it goes. With Seth MacFarlane trying to buy out Star Trek.
Yep.
Because we're at the point now where Star Wars is up in rubble.
It's falling apart. In limbo right now.
And it's in production limbo for everything else. And they're looking for somebody for that. Star Trek is in the same boat.
I gotta say, like, real quick, one of the most interesting things, I think, in Star Wars that's kind of put things in limbo even worse is Dave Filoni went and did his Mandalorian episode.
Right.
And it was one of the worst ones.
Which one was that?
In the season? That was the Tatooine one.
Oh, I fucking hate Tatooine.
That was the Dave Filoni episode.
Wow, that sucks.
And so, and Dave Filoni was one of the ones that people are just like, well, if you're going to take it away from Kathleen Kennedy, give it to Dave Filoni.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's not even a surefire bet, guys.
It's not.
My little brother's smashing his bicycle with a hammer right now.
Oh, I was like, is he on the roof?
He might be.
It sounds like he's on. I thought he was on the fucking roof fixing your ductwork, and I was like, okay, all right. But he's working on his bike.
Yeah, he's working on his bike. Yeah,
he is at the gas powered one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw his bolts and stuff out here.
Yeah,
cleaning them up.
He's putting on a new brake system.
Oh, that's a good idea. Because he built this gas powered. It's pretty badass. It's like 5 horsepower. How much is it?
Something like
5 horsepower
like
gas motor
for
a bicycle. Brakes that should have been the first thing you bought with it. But I commend him for riding that shit and finding out it was horribly unsafe before he got to that point. credit where credit is due, because I would do the same thing and be like, Jesus, this thing is unsafe as fuck. It's like a Simpsons episode and you're about to turn into flaming wreckage. Just jump off the bike and watch it explode. I should have bought brakes. Fuck, I didn't think about that. Bicycle brakes are inferior to gas-operated vehicles. Yeah, that's so funny. I would but Star Trek, what were we saying?
Seth MacFarlane. Yeah.
So MacFarlane's, he actually has more of the market right now with the Orville.
With the Orville, yeah.
Which, have you watched it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you into it?
Like, I haven't been keeping up with the later seasons. I watched the first season through.
I got two.
That was pretty good.
It's actually fucking decent, man.
Yeah.
I'll definitely go to bat for the some parts. I got off the bus on like season 2 where they did this. They did this like transgender alien having a baby because they're like piccolos where they don't have genders.
Right.
And they're like shit out babies. But they're like having, I don't have a sex, but we're gonna do this like. He has to do this like court battle between these two sexes,
right? Because they
decide
find out,
who wants the child.
Because they wanted to do a sex change on the baby or something.
That's something like that. Yeah, it has to be sex change. You know the episode I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
I got off the ride, and it wasn't because I'm like anti-woke or anything like that. I was like, it's him, because this whole thing is him wanting to play Next Generation.
Yeah.
It's a play on Next Generation. He ain't Next Generation.
No.
And that's my favorite Star Trek, because it's in the same mode as like the original, where it's a Western and you fly around and do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they've carried their values, and it's like the values of the future. Well, that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
But it just felt like it was too far for even Star Trek, because when Star Trek did that stuff, it was never a big event.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, this is how it is. And it wasn't a big deal. Everybody just coexists. It's like nobody really cares.
Getting along, yeah.
Everybody's fine. It's like, it's not a fucking big deal. And I didn't like that showy, I'm going to fucking rub it in your face. This is where fucking woke over here on this fucking spaceship in the Orville.
Yeah.
And that's what was like, it just felt disingenuous and done on purpose to fucking farm viewers from multiple demographics, when Star Trek already had that, because that was the whole idea of Star Trek, where it was like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
All this stuff in 100 years doesn't fucking matter.
Right. We're so beyond all of these issues.
It's insignificant.
We can't go flying to the ends of the universe trying to figure out what's going on and still be, fighting about piddly little bullshit.
About who gets to use what bathroom and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is fine. Which everybody can believe whatever they want, especially in America, which is like essentially the vehicle for the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
Except there's no money system, so Bernie Sanders watches it, and like Bernie Sanders like, fuck yeah, no money. We all have the same stuff. Fuck yeah, replicators. Oh, replicators. Everybody has food. Sorry, that was a weird joke. I went off on a fucking. But that's why it wasn't the main reason for liking Star Trek, but they were never showy about it.
Yeah.
It was just, this is how it is. And it felt like he was trying to fucking ram it into people's faces, which is how Hollywood needs to be spoon-fed a dose of this shit every once in a while. Look how inclusive we are. Look how fucking diverse my cast is. Constantly.
Yeah.
Without having any concerns for like the actual product, where it's part of the Orville, you know what I mean? But he wants to make Star Trek. And that's my problem with it. It's never showy with that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they have their issues where they deal with like individual species and stuff, but it's never like they're taking an issue right now and fucking ramming it in our face, because we're dealing with it in the future too.
Right? Yeah, that's not Star Trek. That's Law and Order shit. That's what you do with Law and Order.
It is, and it's trying to fucking farm. I don't know who the fuck they're trying to get to watch it. You know what I mean? Like, people that are going to watch the Orville are going to watch it because it's basically Star Trek. We're not going to watch it because it's fucking, you're going to ram this wokeness down our fucking throat, man. We like it because we like Star Trek. And we don't have a decent Star Trek right now. We're going to allude to Picard, which I'm interested in seeing what they do with that. But I'm worried it's going to be more of the same. And it is, because I've seen talks and reviews and stuff on it. But I will honor it because the original cast came back to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They said they weren't going to do it. And to do it like that, and to have people come back out of retirement who have no interest in acting at all or anything.
Right.
They have families, their grandparents and stuff now, and they're coming back to do stuff like this. I'll honor it for what it is. But rumor has it is McFarlane has been talking to all these people. LeVar Burton, you name it. Jonathan Frakes, everybody. Brett Spinner, like most of the TNG original cast and stuff like that. And he's already talked to them about doing a reboot movie or series where they come back and do something right away. Yeah. This is rumor everywhere. And not only has Midnight's Edge talked about it, who knows where they get their rumors. They've been pretty accurate with everything that they brought up. Oh, yeah. Like hyper accurate. They're pretty, with a lot of shit.
They're pretty on point.
But I've been hearing about this from other places, which is not just the McFarlane. So NBC is going to try to buy out Star Trek. Right. And hand it to McFarlane to run, to do another Star Trek episode of basically get rid of the Orville and redo your own Star Trek. Yeah. Where he produces and captains the whole everything, which is what McFarlane has been wanting to do from the beginning. You know what I mean? It's since he's got to the point where he's producing stuff. Yeah. And making stuff, he was like, I'm going to make my own Star Trek, which is all he's really been focusing on, period, is the Orville. Since then, I haven't heard about any movies or anything else like that. Everything's been quiet from him. But these talks of NBC have been getting around like from the far reaches because it's to the point where we've already should have had another Star Trek movie.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And people are starting to notice. And that Star Trek movie publicly fell out because the two Chris's, Hemsworth and Pine, didn't want to take pay cuts to be in the movie. Mm-hmm. So that movie took a giant shit because Thor was like, well, I'm a fucking movie star now. And I'll have whatever fucking movie I want. But can't live outside of Thor. And nobody told him that, sir, you can't do anything outside of Thor. Everything falls apart in your face. Blows up. Which I love him. Don't say I'm fucking talking shit heavily, but these Chris's in general. I love Pine more than the other because Pine I think is a better actor. Mm-hmm. But everything he's touched has fallen apart. That's not Thor. Yeah. So he has a new lease on life with this Thor Love and Thunder. Yeah. Where they're probably going to do female Thor boot where they hands over those who is worthy.
Yeah, they got Portman back and everything. So
yeah, which is fucking. I can't believe they got that whole thing to work. Jeez, I can't believe that's all happening. Because I think she was great, but she fucking really. We can do a whole synopsis on why they drug down the Thor movies. I have a feeling she was a factor in it because of her reputation a reputation as an actress. So they're like, it needs to be the dramatic role for Portman to carry because Portman can carry these heavily drawn out dramatic roles. And I feel like it was one of those things where they were going to stretch it with her. Yeah. And they're horribly boring. Like they're horribly, horribly dry and fucking boring. And then you get to Ragnarok and they finally were just like, fuck it. Just take Thor and do something. Just do anything.
Anything.
Because the Guardians of the Galaxy blew up. Yeah. For no reason. And I watched the first half of it this morning on Disney Plus. And I was like, it's legit. It's still good. I found out I'm more in love with the soundtrack than I am the actual movie because I listen.
I can see that.
Listen to the soundtrack regularly. Yeah. But it's one of those things where he hasn't done well outside of anything but Thor. Yeah. But the momentum of the Marvel universe carrying him. Mm-hmm. And so he's using like he could if he had to just shut the fuck up and done the Star Trek movie, it might have been okay. Yeah. Because they're gonna what the idea was, what I'm hearing the rumor was, is they were gonna rebridge the universes back together. And Tarantino's movie was gonna be back in the original universe. Yeah. Period. Yeah. He was gonna do a time travel episode. They did an episode called Yesterday's Enterprise on The Next Generation, which is the one I was telling you about, where they go back and Lieutenant Yar is there. And that's what re-splits the timeline, where Yar is alive, living with the fucking Romulans, and makes a Romulan child who becomes a nemesis of the Earth's Federation. Remember how I explained it the whole time? Yeah, yeah. That's the episode. Okay. Because they time warp back, and all the people that were in the first two seasons are there on the ship that had died. And they're like, what the fuck? So Picard has all his memories, or whoever's there. I can't remember who's there. Somebody explains it to her, or she goes through the databanks and sees how she fucking died. And changes history. So they were gonna rebound back into what they were doing before and fix the fucking Abrams timeline. That was the plan.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. I was like, they were going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They had plans to bring it back on course. And with these talks about like the script was too Trekky. It's too much Star Trek. What's a fucking Star Trek movie? What did you think people are paying to see? A fucking, you know what I mean? Like you can get away with that shit with Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Star Wars has always been pretty fucking casual it's not even a goddamn science fiction movie for the most part. It's an opera between a son and his father. The fact that there's laser sticks and spaceships, you could set that in anywhere.
Yeah.
It's fucking barely a sci-fi anything.
Barely, yeah.
In my opinion. And I think it's a fucking fluke that it even took off the way it did because of so many science fiction things that were going on at the time. It should have never worked ever. You can get away with that shit in Star Wars, which is why when I saw the train wreck that we watched in theaters, I was like, well, it's never fucking stood up very well on its own anyways. So you can get away with that kind of shit where they're fucking teleporting for no reason. And he's mentally sending a fucking lightsaber through time and space to teleport into her hand. Fuck you, whoever made that, Abrams and fucking whoever okayed that idea. He tried to fucking play it off in the interviews I saw. Yeah. Remember how he's like, I may have like invented a new power for this movie.
Horsepower. Oh.
And I was like, it better not be the Force healing because they had that. Because they piped. They hyped that in The Mandalorian because the Baby Yoda can do it.
Yeah, that's always kind of been a thing.
But then I realized what it was.
Yeah.
And it was the fucking Goku.
Teleporting.
He can instant transmission like fucking Goku.
Yeah.
But nobody else can do it. Like only these two fucking Jedis in the history of the fucking Jedis. Even the Emperor can't fucking teleport. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Right? Big fuck me to everybody that's watching it. Other than that, like Drive was great. But those kinds of things are big hang-ups for me. Where they're like, that's a no-no. Mm-hmm. You can do that in like Harry Potter. Because Harry Potter is set in a magical world.
Magical world where the rules are not
where
really
it
defined. It's just...
It doesn't fucking matter. The money doesn't make sense. They just live their life.
Well, and essentially it's just another, hero story.
It's all it is.
Anime jack-off, suddenly finds out he's the...
It's like the last one that I love because I've read those books so many times in my youth. And I like thinking about how I often, because I'm going to reread them here very soon. I just got back onto Audible and bought Fingerprints of the Gods, which is by Grant Hancock. I'll let you know how that is or what it's about. It's supposed to rewrite history essentially with his views and stuff he's been finding on civilizations that have existed that they're only just finding out about, the ones in South America.
That's right. Yeah.
Have you heard about that?
I've heard about that,
They found it's possible that there's been millions of people living in these giant...
massive civilizations
that have been swallowed by the jungle.
Yeah.
And it's all true. They've found all of these structures with this new radar scanning technology. And so everybody's like, fuck. Like that,
we had no idea what was going on.
And none of it's come... Like, they haven't even talked about it publicly. The scientists have not admitted it because they're testing all this stuff.
Right. They want to know their shit before.
But all of the evidence points to there's a whole fucking... huge branch of civilization that nobody knew about at all.
Yeah.
And there's also talk that the pyramids are fucking older than they thought. And it's questioning dogma to even question like what these old scientists have committed their whole life to. You committed your whole life to this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they do a test on the rock to find out that the rock is older than they thought because it has water damage and the granite that the pyramids are made out of. Mm-hmm. They're like, we think it's older than it is. Then you speculated these things might be fucking super, super old. And so you can't just outwardly say that to a man who's studied his whole life to study the fucking pyramids.
Yeah.
Because you just told him he's wrong. Same as the movie thing. Your movie wasn't good. Fuck you. They take that as me saying, fuck you. Like they act like George Costanza right away where there's like, fuck you, George. But really you're not trying to say that, but they take it as a fucking personal attack.
Way, yeah.
That's what it is, and so that's what that whole book is about. I'm interested to see. I looked for another one. I know I segued bad into these books and stuff too, but I wanted to recommend them. I'm looking for The Sacred Cross and the Mushroom, which is a book that was bought out. It was written by the guy who deciphered the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh, okay.
And the Catholic Church bought the books out and didn't let it get released because it's
just scrubbed it. Huh?
I guess it questions the whole dogma of the Bible. It's supposed to be a pretty heavy book. But the Catholic Church was like, we can't have this shit out there, and like, but you can download a PDF. But there's no audiobook that I found.
It's never one of those officially published it. Yeah,
it's one of those ones that's like very questionable.
Yeah,
for against the grain books. I love reading stuff like that. Not just so I can be like, I'm gonna throw this at you to, in conversation for people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, I learned this and this because it's fucking. I read it in a book. I don't want to be that fucking guy, but I love reading that radical.
Yeah.
Shit. You know what I mean? Really questioning things. Because I love that questioning behavior, that exploratory thought process. So I'm looking for stuff like that. But that's what Hancock does in his books. What time is it? It's definitely fucking time to start wrapping it up. So.
I think so.
Because I didn't snap until...
But I think I want to finish. What do you think, at least best picture category, which one's your favorite to get it?
My favorite to get it?
What would you give, and then what do you think the Academy's going to give?
Well, those are two very different things.
Very different things.
It's very specific. As far as what I want, I don't think any of the ones that we've picked for top are going to take it. I think 1917 is going to be a heavy contender.
Yeah. But
not necessarily for Best Picture. I'm thinking this film, Parasite, might come in and sweep it for some reason.
It might.
Because we know nothing about it. That's why I can't comment. And I have not seen it.
You know what? And I would say the theme for the Oscars this year is safe.
Oh, yeah.
I would think that Parasite would probably, because it's got the least exposure of any of them, I would say.
I'm worried that Little Women is going to take it. Because that's the safe. Look at that list.
True.
The safest move you can make as a studio, why the fuck was Little Women even brought onto the list? It's a fucking fantastic production, I'm sure, but we've already seen the same movie 6 times.
Yeah.
And they're going to play that as an Oscar role? It's pretty fucking fishy to me.
True.
It's an all-star cast. I haven't seen it. I love the story of Little Women. I've seen the original film. Not the original. It came out in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was the one we grew up with. Yeah.
It's I mean, if you like Downton Abbey, it's like that. It's along those lines. I found it's interesting, more reserved character conflicts. You know what I mean, of the Victorian period, which is how fascinating is the Victorian period. Everybody being buttoned up and retarded. It's not like an exciting like the Great Train Robbery. You know what I mean, or anything like that. But it's adequate.
Yeah. For
an interesting character
drama. Yeah.
And I'm worried that that's what the Academy wants.
Okay.
But as far as my predictions, I don't think any of the ones that we picked. What I have as far as my best runner is going to be 1917.
Yeah. The
films that I've seen. But I'm thinking that it could go to Parasite because it came out of nowhere, or Marriage Story.
Yeah.
I don't think the Irishman's going to walk away with it.
No.
I think it's just there for him to get a little pat on the booty. Good job. Good job, everybody. But as far as physically taking it, I don't think the Joker is going to.
No.
I think it's just going to be an acknowledgement. I would love to fucking watch tonight and be like, the Joker won.
Yeah.
The Joker won fucking Best Picture. And I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, what? What? Because we're in a Crisis of Infinite Earths situation.
Right.
What timeline am I in?
What timeline are we on?
Where am I? That's what I would like to
Planet's going to crash into us. We're just
we're
going to get killed by Planet X.
We're going to have to fight our fucking Bizarro selves in the next adventure of Dragon Ball Z. That's what I think I would like to happen. I would like Joker's acknowledgement to happen, but I know it's not polished enough to be considered overall, even for the quality that they've accepted. 1917 is probably one of the best films I've seen in the last 10 years overall, as far as just beautiful film quality. I hope they get score too. I hope they take the best score.
Score or cinematography.
And cinematography is definitely the most stunning out of all. Out of all the things I've seen. Ford versus Ferrari had a great cinematography also.
Yeah.
And they'll probably be considered as well. I haven't seen the list. But I definitely hope 1917 walks away with it as an official pick. But we could get one of those things where they pull their bullshit and sweep it with Little Women or something that we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in deep down, I feel like it might be 1917 because anybody who's seen it has had nothing but good things to say that I've talked to. And I was, it's one of the only films where I was dumbfounded at the end. I had nothing to say. I just said it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And I had to digest it. And as I digested it, when me and my buddy sat at dinner, then I started to talk about it. But I had to digest it afterwards. And it was so, that's my pick.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was definitely, had nothing to say. It wasn't like it was great and because of this and this and this. I had nothing to say. It was like, it was a fucking piece of art. I just walked into a painting and saw this Roman epic. I hope that's the one.
Yeah.
And it deserves every second of it.
Mm-hmm.
But we could get Little Women.
We could end up with Little Women.
I say a lot of misogynistic things. I'm not trying to sound that way. I am, to an extent, misogynistic, but I think everybody is a little something, a little of this and a little of that. But I don't think this is a time and place for fucking another Little Women movie to get an Oscar nomination for Best Picture overall.
It would reinforce the forgettableness, I think, of the Oscars.
Which is what they're trying to avoid by bringing these... even bringing the Joker to the table.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
That's the idea because it's fucking terrified people.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where, because it's making them question everyday life and like morality choices and things like that. You know what I mean? Like it's even shocked people to where it's like they felt like ill afterwards because they were like, oh fuck, like thoughts that they've never thought before were brought up in this movie. And it's a very dangerous card to lay on that table.
Yep.
It's my favorite pick just because of, like, I've talked about it already. But I've seen them do it before where they're just like, and the winner is Little Women. Fuck you guys. Fuck everybody for showing up. It depends on who shows up tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they show up, they're actually... Because most of these guys aren't going to show up unless they really are like, am I really going to win? You know what I mean? Because most of them don't show up for just the nomination.
Right.
They show up because they fucking have been told, well, you won, so we'll bring you in, and most because these directors and stuff are not going to fucking come sit there to be shot down, you know what I mean, by the Academy. So it will all be revealed tonight as we watch, I think too, but it's hard to say as far as that. What do you think?
I'm thinking it's I think as far as movies I've seen this year, 1917 is the one that, like, all the rest of them are movies that I like, that I've really, really liked.
Yeah.
But I think, 1917 did something special.
Yeah, I think it's changed.
And it deserves recognition for that.
I think it changed film.
I think it's one that had grabbed people's attention. But the theme of the Oscars this year being safe, I would say safest would be Parasite.
I know nothing about it.
And that's why it's the safest.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I would love to watch it, but as far as finding it, it's been really hard. Mm-hmm. I've tried a couple different, like I'll just have to pay for it to rent it. You know what I mean? But I've tried to look through multiple venues. The most direct is just paying for it, but I was hoping it was going to come up through a streaming site because I think that's how it got here in the first place, like through Netflix or somebody else or Amazon, but I haven't found it. And I don't know how it even got to such high regard by not even being mentioned or whispered until it fucking released right before the Oscars. So it's anybody's game, but we know it's not the Joker's.
No.
Let's
be real about that. Yeah.
But I hope he gets Best Actor.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he gets it overall.
It's definitely in the running for that.
And they have a great score.
Yeah.
Their music was fantastic. I listened to the soundtrack the other day, and it's pretty. Not only does it kind of carry you to that place, but it's just a beautiful score overall. The score could stand alone on its own. Not a lot of films that will I listen to their soundtrack. There's a couple where I'm like Guardians of the Galaxy. I liked Tron, the second Tron movie.
Oh yeah.
I still listen to that soundtrack. Oddly, I believe it or not. Then that's not because Red Letter said it or anything else. I really have, because Daft Punk did it. And I was like, they fucking killed it.
And like the height of their greatness.
Yeah, and it's just like these gods and titans came down to touch this insignificant movie.
This is a little freaking sequel of a lesser known Disney
and fucking
movie.
It's I love that movie, and it's I was hoping because Disney Plus will get something else, Tron.
Yeah.
Because the retro thing is still popular. You know what I mean? Maybe
True.
Maybe we'll get our sequel, a lesser known production. But Disney doesn't look like they're making any moves to do anything like that. They're not spending that kind of money. So I don't know. But I got to go sit down and I have chicken that thawed fucking 2 hours ago.
All right.
I don't know. How long did we record for?
We're at about 2 hours and 45 minutes. So we are going to cut it off here.
Yeah, we'll
and everybody have a good night.